down the local market and several houses. At least two residents say about 37 people were killed, but that death toll could be much higher as people remain missing. A resident of the village says the gunman had been lurking around nearby communities for about a week before the attack. Now survivors are too afraid to recover the bodies. Saturday's attack happened near a community where more than 300 school children and their teachers were kidnapped from a Catholic school in November. I'm Donna Warden.
South Korea says North Korea has launched ballistic missiles into the sea. The South says the missiles were launched from North Korea's capital early yesterday morning. News and analysis, townhall.com. Well, this is one that did not get away.
Or you could say it takes the cake, or maybe it takes the tuna sandwich. A lot of tuna sandwiches. A massive 535-pound bluefin tuna sold for $3.2 million during Japan's initial fish auction of 2026. The tuna was caught off Oma in northern Japan, a region widely regarded for producing some of the country's finest tuna, not to mention some of the largest as well. Jason Walker reporting.
Advances across industries like robotics, healthcare and vehicles, wearables, gaming and more set to be on display this week. The annual CES trade show is getting underway in Las Vegas. It is a multi-day event, a show organized by the Consumer Technology Association. More on these stories, townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Good morning, and welcome to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are indeed broadcasting live from our studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Well, 2026, this is our first broadcast in 2026. Oh my goodness. Already there's been such huge news going on in the world. And we will bring you the morning rundown right now. It is brought to you by our very good friends at the Glock Store, glockstore.com, located just a few miles from the airport, right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So here we go. Here is the morning rundown for Monday, January 5th, 2026. That's January 5th, 2026. Brought to you by the Glock Store. Number one, this is just breaking news. Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, who had announced he was going to run for a third four-year term. You know, he's the jazz hands guy. He was the vice presidential nominee. He dropped out just a few minutes ago. He's not running for re-election. This is in light of the burgeoning Somali fraud scandal. It's going to get worse for Tim Walz. And why is he dropping out? Well, because he knows a lot of really awful stuff is about to come out. Number two, I can't believe this is the second story. Nicolas Maduro, the narco-terrorist, former Venezuelan dictator, was captured late Friday night, early Saturday morning, and extracted from his headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. He and his wife are at this moment being arraigned in a federal district court in Manhattan, New York City on drug trafficking charges. We'll talk about the legal aspects of that and what sort of due process all the big law firms are going to jump up and provide pro bono for this alleged narco-terrorist, former dictator, with Tom Pappert at the bottom of this hour. Number three, who's next? Cuba, Colombia, Greenland. Yeah, the guys at Greenland, they no narco-terrorism going on up there, but you've got China and you got Russia trying to impinge upon the Western Hemisphere. We got news for you guys. Remember the Monroe Doctrine? It's now the Donroe Doctrine. Yeah, our hemisphere, we're gonna run it. Number four, domestic reaction to the capture of Maduro. Straight party lines. The Democrats are aligning with the narco-terrorists, and everybody else in the world is aligning against them. Number five, Zoran Mamdani called up Donald Trump to complain about the Maduro capture. Then his newly appointed property official says, we're going to have a new relationship with property. White people, watch out. I kid you not, that person said. Number 6, Scott Adams. You know, the Dilbert creator, great guy. Apparently has a terminal prostate cancer diagnosis. It says he plans to convert to Christianity. Been, I guess, sort of agnostic atheist, but now as the end nears, apparently for him, good guy, really great guy. I said the other day he's going to convert to Christianity. Number 7, Marco Rubio just took it to the regime media. George Stephanopoulos, Margaret Brennan, I think he was on with Kristen Welker too. It was fantastic. We've got some clips from that. Number 8, Marco Rubio Marco Rubio, I think, might end up being, right now, the markets are showing that his stock for the 2028 nominee really jumping up. So we'll see. Number 9 is J.D. Vance, actually. A 26-year-old was arrested for trying to break into his house. Number 10, Mark Pulliam will join us in hour 2, with all the legal stuff of the world. And number 11, Bob Luddy, the founder of Thaler's Academy, entrepreneur, Captive Air founder, will be here to review a new book on seeking wisdom in hour 3. So there you go. There's the morning rundown for Monday, January 5th, 2026. Now, we're brought to you at all times. Every morning rundown is brought to you by our friends at the Glock Store. In the new year, I know you've got a New Year's resolution. If you've never shot a gun before, I think you really ought to go to the Glock Store, and you got to learn how to shoot a gun. This has been my situation. I'd never shot a gun in my life. Never. Maybe I shot a BB gun as a kid, but never shot a real gun. And so the time was there to learn how to do it. And I went into the Glock Store. Let me tell you something. The trainers there are fabulous. And the way they teach you is just the greatest way. They have these rooms called Shoot 270. And by that I mean you get 270 degrees of a 360-degree circle. You have targets in the front of you, targets to the left, targets to the right, and you learn how to shoot sort of in real time. They also have these great kind of situation simulations that are really, really interesting, and you can go through and do that. And let me tell you something. These instructors are beyond fabulous. And if you've never shot a gun before, like I had been my case, you really should go to our friends at the Glock Store, glockstore.com, just a few miles from the airport, right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So there you go. That's the morning rundown for Monday, January 5th, 2026. I want to show this. George Stephanopoulos was basically a punk hitman, comms hitman, communications hitman for Bill Clinton, and still is kind of a punk lefty. Why he's a big deal at ABC is another story. But Marco Rubio was on his program yesterday and just took it to him. Let's hear that dialogue right now.
He said the United States is going to run Venezuela. Under what legal authority?
Well, first of all, what's going to happen here is that we have a quarantine on their oil. That means their economy will not be able to move forward until the conditions that are in the national interest of the United States and the interest of the Venezuelan people are met. And that's what we intend to do. So that leverage remains, that leverage is ongoing, and we expect that it's going to lead to results here. We're hopeful that it does, positive results for the people of Venezuela, but ultimately, most importantly for us, in the national interest of the United States. We will no longer have, hopefully, as we move forward here, we'll set the conditions so that we no longer have in our hemisphere a Venezuela that's the crossroads for many of our adversaries around the world, including Iran and Hezbollah, is no longer sending us drug gangs, is no longer sending us drug boats, is no longer a narco-trafficking paradise for all those drugs coming out of Colombia to go in through the Caribbean and towards the United States. And obviously, we want a better future for the people of Venezuela. We want them to have an oil industry where the wealth goes to the people, not to a handful of corrupt individuals and stolen by pirates all over the world. That's what we're working towards, and we intend to use the leverage we have to help achieve that.
Let me ask the question again. What is the legal authority for the United States to be running Venezuela?
Well, I explained to you what our goals are and how we're going to use the leverage to make it happen. As far as what our legal authority is on the quarantine, I'm very simple. We have court orders.
Okay, let me stop for a moment. Let me just stop. We got to pause this. We'll come back to this. What a condescending, sanctimonious ignoramus, George Stephanopoulos. Well, let me ask you again, what's the legal authority? Boom. As I explained to you before, knucklehead, we have a court order here. Let's continue with this as Rubio just takes it to Stephanopoulos.
And we get orders from courts to go after and seize these sanctions. So that's, I don't know, is a court not a legal authority?
So is the United States running Venezuela right now?
Well, I've explained once again, I'll do it one more time. What we are running is the direction that this is...
Pauses. Well, I've explained once before. I'll do it one more time for you because you're a little slow, George, and you're a jerk. That's the way to do it. I've watched a lot of people when they try to do these gotchas. Don't get mad at them. Just be matter of fact, direct. Well, as I've explained to you before, let me do it one more time. Boom. There you go. All right. When we come back, we're going to have more of the Marco Rubio show because he was just spectacular yesterday. Back after this.
Now more than ever, it's imperative to support companies that share our conservative values. That's why I can't be more excited to tell you that I've switched my family to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you shift your support away from the leftist, woke, progressive agendas of Big Mobile. Patriot Mobile's wireless service works perfectly and seamlessly as you go about your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they're making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98. My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, and duvets for as low as $25. And a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call 800-854-0504 and use promo code Godzilla to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.99, Kings only $1 more. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026.
My Patriot Supply, America's most trusted survival food company, wishes you and yours a very Merry Christmas. As our gift to you, we've got an amazing deal on survival food kits. Buy one, gift two. That's right, for a limited time, when you grab our best-selling 4-week emergency food kit, we'll include 2 one-week kits free to hand out as gifts. That's 4 weeks of emergency food for you, and 2 ready-to-give gifts for anyone on your list who's into preparedness, or anyone who needs a nudge in that direction. But they're only available for a limited time. Grab yours at mypatriotsupply.com and give the gift of food security this Christmas. With 2,000 calories per day, 16 delicious meal and snack varieties, and up to 25-year shelf life, it's no wonder our 4-week food kit is the best-selling emergency food supply of all time. But the buy one, give two Christmas special won't last long. So claim yours now at mypatriotsupply.com. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at GlockStore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at GlockStore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
This is State Senator Mark Pouty. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pouty.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pouty, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. So, if you're like me, you woke up Saturday morning to this big news that overnight the U.S. military had gone into the headquarters of Nicolas Maduro. I'm trying to remember the name of the part of the community. I think it was Frente Tiuna. That's where his offices were. He's got a big military complex there. And they had a huge, huge force there. They went in. He was sleeping in his mansion, in his compound. 150 aircraft went in, and they extracted him. The whole operation took less than the time it takes you to watch an episode of, your favorite, Stranger Things or Landman. Maybe a little bit longer than a Landman episode, but not that much. I think it was like 88 minutes. I mean, now let me tell you something. I've been to Caracas, and I've flown into Caracas a long time ago, but this is not logistically, topographically, an easy place to fly into. If you go into Caracas and you go into you fly into the commercial international airport. It's called Maiquetía, and Maiquetía is about 20 miles west of downtown Caracas. The compound there where he was captured is about, I think, 4 or 5 miles south of downtown Caracas. But the topography is very challenging. And I recall flying into Maiquetía Airport, and on the one hand, you have the Caribbean. To the north is Caribbean. But all surrounding it, you have these high mountains. And so you got to make a real quick dip down to get to the airport. It's challenging. And I remember thinking, whoa, I don't know if I want to do this again. Just that was on a commercial flight. So these guys went in, and oh my goodness, what a military operation. Now, how did they do it? Now, the reports are they were sleeping in this big, big compound. Apparently, they built a replica of the compound. Think about that. Think about the planning. How much does it take to build a replica of this thing? Wow. To practice on. That's a lot of money. And how did they know what it was? Well, they had somebody on the inside. There's a report that it was CIA, but I'm thinking maybe right now somebody on his team helped give him up. So it is a huge, huge effort. The military accomplishment, nobody else in the world could do it. It's stunning that they were able to do it. It was just huge. The other part about this is sending a signal. This is sending a signal out to all the dictators in the rest of the world. You think you're safe? Don't cross the United States. FAFO, right? Blank around and find out. Well, Maduro blanked around, and he found out. So this is a signal to, I don't know if you're an Iranian mullah right now. Watch out. Even Vladimir Putin might be thinking, Now that would, that seems unlikely. But I'll tell you, who ought to be worried right now? The president of Colombia. The way all of this drug trafficking works, according to reports, is, a lot of the cocaine, it's all made in Colombia, and then Venezuela is a shipping point. Okay, so the president of Colombia, bravely says, "Oh, stay away from Venezuela." He might be next. And then Cuba. Yeah, that's interestingly enough. Cuba had been run by the communists since Fidel Castro took it over. 1960, 1961, 61, and but all of the security for Maduro was provided by Cubans. They didn't do a very good job. You've got all these experts out there that have said, "Oh, we've played these clips, or you've seen these clips. No one will ever be able to get Maduro out of Venezuela. Those Cubans, they're too tough." And they've got all that Russian air defense equipment. Didn't work. Did not work. Oh, by the way, did you see this part of it? Who did he meet with earlier in the day? A delegation from China. Huh. How about that? So anyways, very interesting. And Rubio went in and really schooled yesterday all of the sort of talking heads. Here he is talking to one of the dumbest talking heads on the Sunday shows, Margaret Brennan. Why did she have this job? She's kind of a miserable person, but also not very bright. Here he is, Marco Rubio, taking it to Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation, clip 20.
He's still in place. The defense minister, who has deep ties to Russia, $15 million price on his head, he is still in place. I'm confused. Are they still wanted by the United States? Why didn't you arrest them if you are taking out the narco-terrorist regime?
You're confused? I don't know why that's confusing to you.
They're still in power.
It's very simple. You're not going to go in and wrap up. But you can't go. You're going to go in and suck up 5 people. They're already complaining about this one operation. Imagine the howls we would have from everybody else if we actually had to go and stay there 4 days to capture 4 other people. We got the top priority. The number one person on the list was the guy who claimed to be the president of the country that he was not. And he was arrested along with his wife, who was also indicted. And that was a pretty sophisticated and frankly complicated operation.
It was.
It is not easy to land helicopters in the middle of the largest military base in the country. The guy lived on a military base. Land within 3 minutes, kick down his door, grab him, put him in handcuffs, read him his rights, put him in a helicopter, and leave the country without losing any American or any American assets. That's not an easy mission. And you're asking me, why didn't we do that in 5 other places at the same time? I mean, that's absurd. I do think this is one of the most, daring, complicated, sophisticated missions this country has carried out in a very long time. Tremendous credit to the U.S. military personnel who did it. It was unbelievable, and tremendous success. And today, an indicted drug trafficker who was not the legitimate president of Venezuela, who we don't recognize, the Biden administration didn't recognize, 60-something countries don't recognize, the European Union doesn't recognize, and many countries in Latin America don't recognize. He was a indicted drug trafficker. He was arrested. His wife was arrested, also
but the
indicted, and they are now
others who are also indicted are still
system of courts.
The others who are also indicted are still in place. So that's the point of my questioning there. But you talked about not being the legitimate
president. So you wanted
president.
us to land in 5 other military bases?
No, I'm asking why you chose that this was the limit of the military operation. But to your point that you just made.
Okay, how stupid is she? How stupid is she? Oh. You should have gotten 5, not 2. Barry Weiss, you're the new head of CBS. You let this moron on the show? She's asking these questions looking like an idiot. Are you running CBS? Barry Weiss, she's the new, much of a vaunted new head of CBS, and yet they have this kind of stuff going on. Why don't you just fire her? I'm available. I can do it. I can do much better than she can, right? Of course, we've already talked to Barry Weiss and said, hey, that 13 minutes that you gave this, turncoat lawyer from the Department of Justice who misrepresented everything in the Kilmar Braco Garcia case, why don't you let us on to tell the real story? No. Why do you keep this idiot, Margaret Brennan, on? Who knows? All right, we have more Marco Rubio. Who's next? Clip 10B.
When it's Donald Trump, all these Democrats go bonkers.
Is the Cuban government the Trump administration's next target, Mr. Secretary? Very quickly.
Well, the Cuban government is a huge problem. Yeah, the Cuban government is a huge problem. First of all,
is that a yes?
Cuba, but I don't think people fully appreciate. I think they're in a lot of trouble, yes. I'm not going to talk to you about what our future steps are going to be and our policies are going to be right now in this regard, but I don't think it's any mystery that we are not big fans of the Cuban regime, who, by the way, are the ones that were propping up Maduro. His entire, internal security force, his internal security apparatus is entirely controlled by Cubans. One of the untold stories here is how, in essence, you talk about colonization, because I think you said Dulce Rodriguez mentioned that. The ones who have sort of colonized, at least inside the regime, are Cubans. It was Cubans that guarded Maduro. He was not guarded by Venezuelan bodyguards. He had Cuban bodyguards. In terms of their internal intelligence, who spies on who inside to make sure there are no traitors, those are all Cubans.
All right.
Okay, so that is Christian Welker, Meet the Press. Okay, the new Monroe Doctrine, Clip 9, Marco Rubio.
What needs to happen for any of this to change, for our relations with Venezuela to change and our whole approach to it to change, the things we have talked about are the ones I've highlighted already. You can't flood this country with gang members. You can't flood this country with drugs that are coming out of Colombia through Venezuela with the cooperation of elements of your security forces. You can't turn Venezuela into the operating hub for Iran, for Russia, for Hezbollah, for China, for the Cuban intelligence agents that control that country. That cannot continue. Those things cannot continue to be in place.
Okay, so Marco Rubio, let me tell you something. This guy is a fantastic Secretary of State. Also, he speaks Spanish fluently. He's the right guy at the right time for that job. When we come back, Tom Pappert, what's going on with the arraignment of Nicolas Maduro in New York City right now? Back after this.
Now more than ever, it's imperative to support companies that share our conservative values. That's why I can't be more excited to tell you that I've switched my family to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you shift your support away from the leftist, woke, progressive agendas of Big Mobile. Patriot Mobile's wireless service works perfectly and seamlessly as you go about your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendment, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
The math is simple. Every dollar we waste on unnecessary federal supervision is a dollar we can't use to fight violent crime. The Safer Supervision Act cuts bureaucratic waste and frees up law enforcement resources to protect families from serious threats. Law enforcement officers across the country and Republicans in Congress agree this is a smarter way to improve public safety. Stop the waste, protect our communities, fix federal supervision. Visit safersupervision.com to help. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
These illegal skill games that keep popping up, fights break out, they're illegal, we got drugs, we got gangs, they're all over the place. How do you get illegal slot machines in convenience stores when Governor Youngkin, you vetoed it, and no referendum, nobody passed it? How are they still here?
At the end of the day, it is local Commonwealth's attorneys that have to bring the cases against the establishments and to get them out. And so, yes, I've vetoed bills. The high court has said that they can't be there. And on top of that, our attorney general has done a full investigation. And we go back to our Commonwealth's attorneys in so many jurisdictions refuse to enforce the law. That's the bottom line. They protect the criminals at the expense of the victims. And that's why, again, elections matter. We have got to elect prosecutors who will put people in jail.
This ad paid for by Churchill Downs.
Is your pet ready for some possum fun? At Creekside Pet Hotel in Kennesaw, every day is a tail-wagging adventure. Whether they're romping with friends in day camp, enjoying a staycation in our cozy boarding, or getting pampered in our luxury spa, we make sure every furry guest gets the royal treatment. Happy pets, wagging tails, and the best care. What more could they ask for? Book your pet's perfect getaway today at CreeksidePetHotel.com or give us a call at 770-422-4700.
My fellow Americans, I have to tell you about my good friends at D.T. McCall & Sons. They have furniture and appliances and a lot more. They've been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years, and they're not going to rip you off. No hidden charges, no delivery charges, no charges for all of the crazy things. These are sick people at the lumber yards. These are very sick people. They charge you for cords and hoses and haul off. They charge you for all of these things. They call them hidden charges. It's the type of surprise that you don't want to see. It's like an October surprise, but it's worse. D.T. McCall & Sons, they're not going to do that. They're great people. They're going to give you a great deal. With locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, D.T. McCall & Sons will give you the deal of your life. Check them out today or go to dtmccalls.com.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We welcome to our Zoom Newsmaker line right now our lead political reporter, Dow Prize winner for the best local journalist in America, the one, the only, Tom Pappert. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Michael.
So I saw a little tweet from our friend Randy Barnett, a professor of constitutional law at Georgetown University and a leading originalist thinker in the country. And he put out a little picture of a big line of high-end attorneys with briefcases standing in line. And it said, here are the big law attorneys who will be representing Nicolas Maduro in New York City on Monday. I thought that it was funny because, as you know, we reported, I think, $13 million in legal fees from 4 big law firms to represent the illegal alien Maryland dad, alleged human smuggler, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, Scott Jennings put out another meme, which had, one of those memes where a guy's walking down the street with his girlfriend and another girl walks behind him and he turns around, look at that, the new girl, and his girlfriend looks at him, what are you doing? He labeled the guy Democrats. He labeled the girlfriend Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and he labeled the new girl Nicolas Maduro. He said, "Sorry, Kilmar." Okay, so what's the deal here? Is Nicolas Maduro going to get the due process of American law? What's going on right now? Who's representing him as he's being arraigned in federal district court in New York City today?
Well, it's very interesting, Michael, and it will be interesting to see how it evolves. Obviously, Maduro on paper is a very, very wealthy man. He's like one of the all-time rich world leaders because of how he's allegedly used his country to enrich himself with drugs, gangs, crime, extortion, corruption, everything else you could imagine. But he's, of course, been sanctioned heavily. So has the nation of Venezuela. So have all of his associates. So has his wife. Everybody he could possibly get money from has been sanctioned, not just by the Trump administration, but by multiple administrations going back now. So it remains unclear exactly how he will be able to access his fortunes. But that has not stopped. It was reported last night, the legions of big law lawyers, just like in the meme, seeking to represent him. None have been successful so far, however. Right now, he's represented by a New York attorney by the name of David Wickstrom. He's a criminal defense lawyer who was appointed by the court. Now, interestingly enough, he may be a pretty good court-appointed attorney. He previously represented the brother of John Orlando Hernandez, who you may remember, astute listeners, was the former Honduran president who was just pardoned by President Donald Trump in the last month or so. But nonetheless, a court-appointed attorney. I doubt he's going to stick with a court-appointed attorney. His wife has inexplicably retained a Texas-based attorney by the name of Mark Donnelly. It's unclear exactly why or how she found this Texas attorney, but this may be the start of the private defense lawyers being gathered by the Maduro family.
Yeah, look, How many attorneys, you tracked this, worked on the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case? 4 big law firms. They filed well over 600 dockets since his whole legal odyssey began. I guess in March of February of last year. We have that to look forward to with the Maduro, the Nicolas Maduro and his wife. They'll probably be tried separately, I would imagine. And you've got some good information there on the so-called court-appointed attorneys. Now, interestingly enough, we're talking about the venue. Apparently, he's been indicted. There was a 2020 indictment and then a late 2025 indictment, both under the Trump administration. One came from the Southern District of New York, and the other is apparently there's an indictment down in Florida. Have you seen that as well?
I've heard about this, yes.
So a lot of people are saying, what are you doing? You are bringing this guy to be tried for drug trafficking. He's a big socialist dictator into the city that's now run by the biggest socialist of all, Zoran Mamdani. What are you thinking? You should be taking him down to Florida. Is there any? What are your thoughts on why the venue is currently the federal district court in New York City?
Excuse me. Well, I know New York has a long history of trying trials exactly like this, defendants exactly like this. There's a long history of high caliber prominent narco traffickers being found guilty in the Southern District of New York. But I have to think, just knowing President Trump and following him for a decade, that part of this, maybe it'll even wind up in Florida. Maybe there will be a superseding indictment out of Florida and they'll put him on another plane and send him down south. But I think part of it was that iconic footage of Maduro coming in on the aircraft, flying directly over the Statue of Liberty, which I've been told you have to get a variance for that. You can't just fly over the Statue of Liberty. And so I think it almost sends a message not only to the other dictators of the world, the other would-be socialist tin pots of the world, but also to Mamdani himself. We have this socialist in chains. We're taking him over the Statue of Liberty and we're parking him in your backyard. So I think that the symbolism alone was probably worth it for the president. Yeah.
The other thing, too, is I don't know how they got those video shots of the capture itself. They must have had somebody stationed, a bit away to just be the official photographer of it. But, boy, weren't they something?
Well, the entire cinematography of it. I mean, we have photos of him, Maduro, basically at every stage of the encounter. My favorite is when he's being pulled out of the DEA van and he's sort of limping. He's been sitting so long, he's got a kink in his leg. He's limping.
Yeah, and the whole idea here is to perp walk, humiliate him, and to show to the world. I mean, what is the audience here? The audience is the world. Even if you're the president of Colombia today, you're saying brave things out there, but what are you really thinking?
Well, the president of Colombia, whatever lunatic is running Cuba this week, but even China, who had its dignitaries in Venezuela, they were working on some big deal together, or Russia, who last year signed an agreement saying that Russia and Venezuela are good friends and they'll do everything they can within reason to help one another, short of, I guess, military action. So I think this is sending a message as though it wasn't already clear since last January, but America is back. There is a firm hand on the reins now, and you're not going to be able to get away with what you historically could, as the United States was plagued with weak presidents.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is all of the Democrats, with the exception of John Fetterman, and there was another, Josh Gottheimer, I think is the guy's name, a congressman. But except for those two, I think all the Democrats are aligning with the narco-terrorists, right? Oh, you can't arrest a narco-terrorist, dictator, even though Joe Biden put out a $25 million reward for his capture. It's just kind of crazy, it seems to me.
Well, and it of course, it's just a political move because they know full and well that Trump had the authority to do this, because this isn't the first time it's happened. It happened with Noriega before I was frankly even born. And I think we're going to see a lot of the same legal arguments made by Maduro as was made by Noriega. He's going to say, well, I am a state sovereign. I'm a world leader. You can't prosecute me. The prosecutors will come back and say, nobody recognizes you except like 4 dictators that hate America. You lead nothing. You led nothing. You are nobody. You are going to stand trial. And that will probably be the way the court case goes, in my opinion. So I think these Democrats, at the end of the day, their desire to once again get one over on Trump, it's going to make them look very, very bad when Maduro is sentenced to 50 years behind bars.
The other part about this, which is very interesting. Now, a lot of Democrats are saying, oh, you can't do a regime change. It won't work. It's not exactly regime change, because the president said, no, this was a law enforcement extraction of somebody who's been indicted for drug trafficking. And he doesn't need any congressional approval for that. Even the War Powers Act, if the president undertakes military action, all he has to do is notify Congress, and he's got 60 days renewable for another 90 for that. But right now, as far as we know, there's no boots on the ground. The other part about this that's interesting is he was asked whether this woman Machado, who got the Nobel Peace Prize, would take over the country now. He said, well, we looked at that, but she just doesn't have the level of support to pull that off yet. And right now, apparently they're working with the vice president who was appointed and herself is probably not legitimate, Delcy Rodriguez. They're basically saying, this is this is what we're going to do.
Well, President Trump and Rubio separately have indicated that this Delcy lady, Delcy Rodriguez, the alleged purported vice president of Venezuela, that she's been sworn in, but that she is being completely cooperative. So she's going out on Venezuelan media and she's saying, they're kidnapping our leaders. Trump said yesterday, that's an all right term to use in this situation. So I think that we're seeing we're seeing the public version of a lot of backroom diplomacy, a lot of closed-door diplomacy, where my guess is they're telling this newly sworn-in president of Venezuela, you've seen what happened to your predecessor. Take a look out at the ocean and you will see an endless armada of American vessels. It's time for Venezuela to once again rejoin the international community, stop being a pariah, stop kidnapping U.S. citizens and selling drugs across its borders. And if they do that, I think this young lady will be allowed to keep her job. If they don't, well, maybe she'll be the next one sent to New York.
Yeah, I think pretty much. I think what's going to happen here is they're going to work with those who are left, probably take 2 of the bad guys out from that regime for law enforcement purposes, and then set up an election. That's what I think is going to happen. Hey, Tom, when we come back, you had a terrific story back to Tennessee about a vendor looking to manage all of these education savings or a scholarship account winners here in Tennessee. Interesting connections. Stay tuned. Tom Pappert will have that when we get back.
Each of us is born with 30 trillion cells that make us. These cells determine how we feel, perform, sleep, focus, and how long we live. And to live our best life, all we have to do is feed our cells properly. But most supplements don't reach our cells, keeping us from reaching our full potential. Make every cell count with Healthy Cell. Founded with a mission to empower people to take control of their own health at the most fundamental level, the cell. Dr. Vincent Gempapa, world-renowned cell researcher and medical doctor, created supplements that work at the cellular level to support immune health, better sleep, sharper focus, and healthy aging. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of any product. That's healthycell.com, HEALTHYCELL, and use code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Is your pet ready for some pawsome fun? At Creekside Pet Hotel in Kennesaw, every day is a tail-wagging adventure. Whether they're romping with friends in day camp, enjoying a staycation in our cozy boarding, or getting pampered in our luxury spa, we make sure every furry guest gets the royal treatment. Happy pets, wagging tails, and the best care. What more could they ask for? Book your pet's perfect getaway today at creeksidepethotel.com or give us a call at 770-422-4700.
These illegal skill games, they keep popping up. Fights break out. They're illegal. We got drugs. We got gangs. They're all over the place. How do you get illegal slot machines in convenience stores when Governor Youngkin, you vetoed it? And no referendum, nobody passed it. How are they still here?
At the end of the day, it is local Commonwealth's attorneys that have to bring the cases against the establishments and to get them out. And so, yes, I vetoed bills. The High Court has said that they can't be there. And on top of that, our Attorney General has done a full investigation. And we go back to our Commonwealth's attorneys in so many jurisdictions refuse to enforce the law. That's the bottom line. They protect the criminals at the expense of the victims. And that's why, again, elections matter. We have got to elect prosecutors who will put people in jail.
This ad paid for by Churchill Downs. What happens in Virginia doesn't stay in Virginia. It influences policy and policymakers nationwide. The VirginiaStar.com shines a light on the issues in VA that become issues for the USA, with insightful commentary that gets to the fact of the matter. The VirginiaStar.com is your source of wisdom and truth, locally, statewide, and nationally. Log on today and every day. The VirginiaStar.com. The VirginiaStar.com.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia traffic stop and was the first to obtain that video. Independent journalism at its finest. Visit us at GlockStore.com, listen to Michael Patrick Leahy, and make America great again.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Our guest is Tom Pappert, our lead political reporter at the Tennessee Star and the Star News Network. Tom, we're going to shift gears from the big national, international stories of Nicolas Maduro to a very interesting Tennessee story. And as you know, Governor Lee signed a bill that authorizes 20,000 education scholarships, and that's been oversubscribed. It's a choice issue for K-12 public school students here in Tennessee. There's a possibility that that may increase to 40,000 or more this coming year. We all support that because the public schools are a complete disaster, and they're not teaching kids to read, write, do arithmetic, or think. But they are trying to propagandize them. That is something that we've known for a long time. And here in Tennessee, we're trying to fix that. Now, what's interesting is you found an interesting little story about the companies that are going to manage the implementation and tracking of these education scholarships. One of them, kind of the lead dog, is called what? Class Wallet, I think. Big venture-backed firm. Early on in its history, got a big chunk of money from a Chinese-connected venture capital firm. Really? Tell us the details of this, Tom Pappert.
Well, Michael, it's interesting. We knew that this was on the horizon, and we knew that there was drama about this before. You can go back to 2019 and read about it on the Tennessee Star. 2019 was when Penny Schwinn tried to give a no-bid contract to Class Wallet. That's the former Department of Education for Tennessee director who recently attempted to join the Trump administration, but due to popular outcry, sort of backed away from that decision. So this year, we're going to see bids from a number of companies who will be looking to provide the technology, the software that is used to run Tennessee's school choice programs. This is both the Universal School Choice Program as well as the School Choice Program for Davidson County, Shelby County, and a couple other counties throughout the state. One of these companies, as we mentioned, Class Wallet, has some history in Tennessee, but way back in 2016 received, or announced, I should say, a funding round. And they announced that $1.5 million total came in, and it was led by a company that later rebranded as Sinovision Ventures. And as you might guess from the name Sinovision, this is a Chinese company, Chinese venture capital firm connected to a guy who now is considered an AI guru that is out making investments that will benefit the Chinese security state. It's very interesting that this company, Class Wallet, since this investment, they've gone on to raise much more money, by the way. They have contracts all over the United States, but they seem to be getting some pushback by both Democrats and Republicans across the country. In Arizona, they had a big data leak where the Democrat governor was demanding answers. In Oklahoma, they allegedly failed to keep money from going where it wasn't supposed to go in terms of grant money, etc. So the Republican governor a year or so ago started suing them. He announced a lawsuit against them. In Missouri, the Republican state treasurer is trying to re-examine their contracts in light of the data breaches. And yet this was, in Tennessee, the top choice of, again, former Education Commissioner Penny Schwinn back in 2022, as recently as then, but also in 2019. And they said as recently as last year that they would love the opportunity to work in Tennessee.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird story. And pretty much anything connected to Penny Schwinn in this area of education is, kind of a disaster. Not very popular with the Tennessee General Assembly. As it turns out, there are a lot of companies that want to make money in the education savings account, education choice arena. I guess the options are get a private vendor to manage it, right? Or develop your capabilities internally. I suppose it makes sense to have a private vendor do it, right? Because managing these things is sort of complicated. But boy, this particular one, Class Wallet, even though their first round of funding that came from this Sinovation Ventures, a Chinese venture capital fund, that would have come at a time when in the seed rounds, when that first money, that's pretty important. You get a bigger chunk of it, even though they've raised now, $95 million. Any concern about Chinese influence in these data breaches in the other states?
Well, it hasn't been publicly reported, but Michael, to me, just reviewing all of this data personally, this is a guy who is very interested in artificial intelligence, the person who owns Sinovation Ventures. His name is Kai-Fu Lee. He actually, by the way, has a Tennessee tie. His parents are Taiwanese expats, immigrated to Tennessee. He learned how to speak English in Oak Ridge and was taught by a Catholic nun. So I guess just a very, very small world. But this is a guy who has gone on since 2015. He's been repeatedly predicting that China is going to be the Saudi Arabia of artificial intelligence. The United States will not be able to keep up when China is able to unlock the keys to the AI revolution. And one article written about a year ago now kind of points out that he got this one wrong. wrong, because President Trump and the United States, our wonderful market economy system, is really number one in AI, and it looks like it will be for some time. But the facts remain. What do these AI companies need more than anything else in the world? They need data. They're all combing Reddit threads and forum posts from 20 years ago. And it just seems to me that this is a red flag that they have access potentially to all the student data.
Tom Pappert, thanks so much for joining us today. Excellent reporting.
Thank you, Michael. Always a pleasure.
When we get back, Mark Pulliam joins us. So many legal things. A breaking story. Mark Kelly, Senator from Arizona, in trouble. Back after this.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's the top news of the day.
There's a number of Democratic members of Congress who are pushing for impeachment, not just going after the president, going after RFK Jr. and others.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
Judge Weinberg.
Listen, it's the most important midterm in our lifetime.
Cats and Cosby, weekdays 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the stations of the John Fredericks Media Network.
This is a big deal.
John Fredericks loves his radio and TV audience, but did you know how to follow the Godzilla of Truth wherever you go? Download the John Fredericks Radio Show app to listen live nationwide. For the daily chit-chat, Trucking the Truth, download the Getter app and join the morning fun on Getter Live from 6 to 10 a.m. Follow John Fredericks on Getter, Truth Social, or Twitter at JF Radio.
WJFN, Goochland, Bon Air, Chester, 100.5, 107.7, 92.7 FM, AM 820, and WJFB, Portsmouth, AM 1650.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. As of today, Tim Walz is a dropout. His state reeling from the massive Somali fraud scandal. The Minnesota governor has announced he will not be seeking a third term as the state's chief executive. He is dropping out of the race. Up till now, Walz tried to hang the scandal on President Trump.
This is what happens when your own federal government wages war against you. This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat.
That was a month ago, and Walz was still in the race. He says he can no longer devote the energy needed to win another term, even as he says he's confident he could win. So now comes the question of who will jump into the gubernatorial race. A person close to Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar says that she is considering a run for governor of Minnesota. There's also no shortage of interested Republicans. Around a dozen of them are already in the race. Deposed Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife making their first court appearance today in New York City. The couple's been indicted on drug trafficking, narco-terrorism, and other charges. They were captured over the weekend in that lightning-fast U.S. military raid in Caracas. Vice President Vance and his family were not at home when this happened.
Secret Service agents say a man who broke the windows of Vice President Vance's Ohio home and caused other property damage has been detained. Two law enforcement officials say the man broke a window with a hammer and tried to enter the house. The home in Cincinnati's Walnut Hills neighborhood was unoccupied. Vance and his family were not in Ohio. The Secret Service is working with local police and the U.S. Attorney's Office on possible charges. Vance's office says his family is back in Washington. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The rally rolls on Wall Street. The Dow is up 640 points, a gain of more than 1%. More on these stories, townhall.com.
It's Mike Gallagher wishing you a Happy New Year.
If you're like most people, this is the week you look at your budget and think, all right, time to get things under control. Here's one of the smartest ways to start 2026. Call my friends at Fellowship Home Loans. They can help lower your monthly mortgage payment. And yes, you can still skip your next 2 payments. Imagine not making a mortgage payment in January or February. That's how you create real financial breathing room. If you need some cash to pay off high-interest credit cards from the holidays, a cash-out refinance might just be perfect for you. And if you prefer a line of credit, Fellowship's new fixed-rate HELOC gives you funds fast with a rate that never changes. Start the year on solid footing. I've used Fellowship personally. I trust these guys. Before the January bills hit, go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG, fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453, fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
Venezuelans in New York City have mixed reactions to the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. Some are elated, others wonder what's next for their homeland.
Maria Moriera fled Venezuela almost 30 years ago during the Chavez era and hasn't visited family in 15 years. She says she wants to go back to see her older brother and give him a hug and a kiss. She is one of many people who live in Queens who fled Venezuela. On Saturday, she celebrated with friends and is hoping a new leader will mean a better life for a new generation. A group of people demonstrated in Times Square Saturday afternoon against U.S. intervention in Caracas. They said that the intervention isn't about drug trafficking or democracy. It's about stealing oil and dominating Latin America. Bernie Bennett reporting.
A Paris court has found 10 people guilty of cyberbullying France's First Lady by spreading false online claims about her gender. The court has convicted all the defendants to sentences ranging from cyberbullying awareness training to 8 months suspended prison sentences. News and analysis, townhall.com. Britain's King Charles leads tributes to an outspoken Holocaust survivor who died in London at the age of 96 and who had an encounter with a world-famous diarist.
Eva Schloss met Anne Frank in the Netherlands after she and her family were forced from their home in Austria. They were betrayed by a Nazi sympathizer on her 15th birthday and sent to the notorious Auschwitz concentration camp, where her father and brother died. She and her mother survived. Mrs. Schloss said that for more than 40 years she was unable to talk about what had happened to her. But in 1990 she co-founded the Anne Frank Trust, with the aim of teaching young people to, in her words, never forget the terrible consequences of treating people as other. Paying tribute, the King said she had devoted her life to overcoming hatred and prejudice, promoting kindness, courage, understanding and resilience.
And that's the BBC's Ellie Pierce reporting. More on these stories, townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. In studio, our very good friend, the author of the Misrule of Law blog, retired attorney, a very accomplished attorney, a graduate of the University of Texas, the one, the only, Mark Pulliam. Welcome, Mark.
Oh, good to be here, kicking off 2026.
It's already been so eventful, hasn't it?
Yeah, it started with a bang, and I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger.
Literally a bang.
Yeah.
A lot of bangs over the military compound where Nicolas Maduro was hanging out. I mean, they got in, they got out in 88 minutes.
Yeah, and now he's making a court appearance in Manhattan today.
Shuffling along in shackles.
Yeah.
With all sorts of cameras there. Well, very interesting. It's in Manhattan. One of the first things that happened under the new mayor of Manhattan, Zoran Mamdani, apparently they blocked off Times Square. And they stopped traffic there, and they had a Muslim prayer session, thousands of Muslims. They wouldn't let Christians do it, but Muslims. And there's going to be an attack on private property there. In fact, I don't know where they get these people. I'm going to play this clip for you right now. This is his new director of tenant services. Listen to this.
I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good, and we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity. will require that we think about it differently, and it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
Where do they drag this person out? And this is an official in the Mamdani cabinet.
It's unbelievable. These people and the rhetoric is just parroting cliches that they must have picked up in 4 years of indoctrination at whatever elite college they attended. And the fact that this is happening in New York City on the 250th anniversary of the signing of Declaration of Independence is a travesty. And to think, I can remember the bicentennial year, the country was just enthused with patriotism, and now we have this. And New York City, a lot of people write it off, well, of course, it's New York City. New York City was one of the nation's first capitals. It's the home of Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, some of the early founders. It was where George Washington was sworn in and gave his inauguration.
It was the first capital of the United States.
Yeah, as president. And the idea that it's been reduced to basically almost a third world status, parroting this commie propaganda, it's shameful. And so when he was inaugurated, Zohan Mamdani, you have to kind of break it down. Okay, so here's a Muslim born in Uganda of Indian parents who was not naturalized as a U.S. citizen until 2018. He's a 34-year-old failed rapper and a veiled socialist. And his political experience consists of serving in the state legislature for 5 years, where he basically accomplished nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
So he was sworn in by Bernie Sanders, the most left-wing person in Congress, who's also a socialist, and took his oath with his hand on a Koran instead of a Bible. It's almost like everything he could do just to have all of the visuals that this is not America, this is something else. And people don't yet seem to have woken up, even though he told us in his inaugural address that he intends to govern as a democratic socialist, and he says expansively and audaciously. And then he says that I will replace, this is a quote, I will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. Close quote.
You talk about the warmth of collectivism. Yeah, like, I don't know, burning people to death, that kind of warmth.
Well, and starving them.
Yeah.
So we had 8 million Venezuelans fled Maduro because of the warmth of collectivism. No, it's ridiculous. New York City is a big, complicated city to govern. 8.5 million residents, workforce of 300,000, and he has never held a private sector job. And all these programs that he's promising he's going to deliver is going to cost $7 billion more than the current city budget permits, and he has no realistic way of raising this revenue. So New York is in for a shock. And that all this happy talk is just happy talk. That you talk about this clown who's the tenant affairs person, but he has already appointed one of his first acts as mayor to put an overweight lesbian with no firefighting experience to head the New York Fire Department, the world's largest fire department and a very important public safety function in New York City, is going to be headed by somebody with zero relevant experience. But it's more important to make a virtue signal, tokenism, a symbol of I'm committed to identity politics and DEI.
It's identity. It's counter to everything American. Absolutely everything. And by the way, apparently there's also a report that the police commissioner who had served under Eric Adams and was going to stick around, now he's demoted her, basically.
Yeah.
You saw that report where usually he was going to report, she would report to him every day. She'd have a direct line to him, the former mayor. Not so now, because apparently in his mind, there's no more threat of Islamist terrorism.
And this is the guy that has promised that if the president of Israel shows up in New York City, he will have him arrested. But then he turns around and accuses President Trump of a war crime for executing an arrest warrant for a valid indictment that was issued in New York City federal grand jury in 2020 to bring him back for trial in New York. That's a war crime. So we have a topsy-turvy world. It's almost as if in New York City this was some sort of a parody of government, where we're going to sort of reenact Atlas Shrugged with all of these Ayn Rand-like caricatures of villains. And
Mamdani is a caricature.
And so are these people that he's appointed to his cabinet.
It's like, oh my gosh. And
and one of the things that was when he visited the White House and had his little tete-a-tete with President Trump, I think the rule was, I'm not going to root against you. I'm not going to come after you. I'm willing to play nice as long as you are doing something that's in the best interest of this city of New York, which I love. But it's sort of clear that Mamdani was not reciprocating that spirit. And what he's done is to double down and put the kookiest, wackiest, most fringe-like people in charge of very important functions. And this city is going to experience a cataclysm that it may never recover from. And you're going to see massive flight of capital and jobs to places like Florida.
Yeah.
And I think President Trump is going to have to take the position that, New York, you've made your bed, now you have to lie in it. And we've just gotten started.
Yeah, I think so. I do think, though, that part of this has to do with the fact that 36% of the voters in New York City are foreign-born. And many of them have loyalties to other countries.
Yeah.
And Mamdani.
Yeah.
Didn't become an American citizen until 2018.
And by being naturalized, you take an oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject. And by retaining his Ugandan citizenship, he makes it clear that he did not take his naturalization oath seriously.
I don't see how you can take a naturalization oath like that and continue to be a citizen of another country.
And when you talk like property, we're going to have a different relationship with property. That's un-American.
No kidding. Okay, speaking of un-American, Tim Walz, back after this.
Hey folks, Al Green here for SatPhone. When you're on the go, you want to know you're connected. If it's a family vacation or an off-the-grid escape to a remote destination, having reliable communication helps you feel safe and secure. You can't afford to find yourself in a dead zone. That's why you need SatPhone. SatPhones are reliable, durable, and give you global coverage. If you can get outside, you can get in touch. It's that simple. Make calls from your SatPhone to any regular cell phone in the United States. The phones are $1,500 value, but you can get yours free. Just sign up for a 15-month plan, $94.95 a month. Get 150 minutes monthly that roll to the next month. Go 3 months without using them, that's fine. Yes, 3 months, 450 minutes, all yours. Visit SAT123.com or call 855-980-5830. SAT123.com, 855-980-5830. Get surety and security with your SatPhone. Call now.
The math is simple. Every dollar we waste on unnecessary federal supervision is a dollar we can't use to fight violent crime. The Safer Supervision Act cuts bureaucratic waste and frees up law enforcement resources to protect families from serious threats. Law enforcement officers across the country and Republicans in Congress agree this is a smarter way to improve public safety. Stop the waste, protect our communities, fix federal supervision. Visit safersupervision.com to help. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
1775 Coffee is giving away free starter kits. Try the dark or medium roast coffee with longevity blend, an infused blend with anti-aging calcium alpha-ketoglutarate, which has been clinically proven to reduce biological age. When you purchase the first 2 bags, you'll receive a free 1775 starter kit, including a third 16-ounce bag of coffee, a matte black tumbler, a frother, a gold scoop, or a reusable K-cup filter. Just order now at 1775coffee.com/Godzilla and claim your free 1775 starter kit while supplies last.
How much did you win at Rosie's Gaming Emporium?
Hi, I'm Jerry from Richmond. I won a $23,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
I'm Tammy. I'm from Newport News, and I just won a $5,400 jackpot from Rosie's.
Hi, my name is Kim, and I'm from West Virginia, and I won $99,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
Are you ready? Learn more about Rosie's rewards and jackpots at rosiesgaming.com. Must be 18 or older. Problem gambling? Call 1-888-532-3500.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's the top news of the day.
There's a number of Democratic members of Congress who are pushing for impeachment, not just going after the president, going after RFK Jr. and others.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
Judge Weinberg.
Listen, it's the most important midterm in our lifetime.
Cats and Cosby, weekdays 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the stations of the John Frederick Media Network.
This is a big deal.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of Glockstore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at Glockstore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at Glockstore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Well, already, Mark Pulliam, we are seeing lots of significant news happen in 2026, and we're only 5 days into it. This morning, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, who is at the center of this burgeoning $9 billion plus alleged fraud scandal in Minnesota, has announced he's not running for re-election.
And this is a fast-breaking story because just over the weekend, the Wall Street Journal's headline was "Welfare Scandal Clouds Walz's 2026 Bid." But it more than clouded his bid, it completely overwhelmed it. And my intuition is that the Democratic structure in Minnesota gave him the same ultimatum they gave Joe Biden.
He got Joe Biden.
You got to get off the ticket or else. And
we're not going to support your defense.
Yeah, and so he went from being a two-term governor, an incumbent running for a third term, fairly well regarded for whatever reason. People up in Minnesota like him. That's something people up in Minnesota need to take a look in the mirror
over.
Hold
on. There are 250,000 Somalis in Minnesota. And how many of them are voting legally or illegally? They've tipped the scales in Minnesota. It's a Somali fraud, which is, as you've pointed out to me many times, fraud in immigration, fraud in government subsidies, leads to fraud in elections.
And in fact, the welfare fraud that has been uncovered and has led to many successful prosecutions in Minnesota by federal prosecutors, that they pilfer tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars from these welfare programs, and they buy luxury cars, they take fancy vacations, they buy jewelry, but they also turn around through their nonprofits and give the money to political candidates, and that's one of the reasons why so many Minnesota politicians were inattentive, to be euphemistic about it, while all this stuff was happening underneath their nose. So let's understand why it is that this is happening to Minnesota and how it likely is happening elsewhere but hasn't just been uncovered yet. So the Somali community, which was brought in en masse, 80,000 to maybe more at relatively the same time, and situated in one place, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis,
which
St.
is,
Paul.
by the way, so just so you know, I mean, we've got a Refugee Resettlement Act. It's been around since 1980, and it's been abused, mostly by Democrats, to bring in essence, people from third world blank holes who hate America.
Yep.
And all sorts of fraud. I documented it for years at Breitbart. And they brought in a bunch of Somalis, which is a tribal disaster in Africa.
Yeah, and it's not like they're bringing them to a place where there's a factory or a meat packing plant where you desperately need labor. You're bringing them into the Twin Cities where, it's a nice Midwestern city.
It was.
And so these people are largely unskilled.
Yeah.
They're not proficient in English. They're uneducated. Most of them lack a high school degree. They're poor, overwhelmingly dependent on government welfare. A statistic that President Trump tweeted shows like 77% of them receive some kind of federal.
He put a list out of about 100 countries of immigrants to America, and the list showed what percentage of those immigrants are still receiving federal benefits. And it ranged from like 85%, I think the Somalis were 77, 80%,
yeah,
something like that, down to 40%. This is ridiculous. These are people. It's not like the immigrants who came here in the turn of the 19th, 20th century, who actually had skills and got jobs and didn't get any public welfare.
Right.
There was no public welfare.
Well, and this is a culture that, because it's atypical, they don't speak our language, they don't have our customs, they don't share our religion, they're all Muslims, that you think about the melting pot. This is an ingot in the melting pot that's never going to melt.
It's never going to melt.
It's just going to be floating on the top. And as a result, the Somali community does not blend in with the rest of Minnesota. They're very insular. They follow the directions of leaders, whether they're secular or religious, and they vote in lockstep, and maybe are even fraudulently voting in lockstep, which explains why somebody like Representative Ilhan Omar could get elected from Minnesota, which is not a hotbed of craziness otherwise. And then they are very quick to accuse their critics of racism and Islamophobia if you say anything critical about them, which if you are a nice person from Minnesota, you do not want people accusing you of being a racist or an Islamophobe. And so you quickly cower and let them do what they want, which is to aggressively perpetrate fraud on every welfare program. And a lot of these are federally funded. They're administered by the state of Minnesota, but they're federally funded. And so it doesn't really hit Minnesota residents in their pocketbook when hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars are being fleeced by these fraudsters. And so Walz was a spectacularly and disastrously incompetent governor, and let this go on for years and years. There were whistleblowers trying to bring it to his attention. They were ignored or sometimes retaliated against.
7-8 years they ignored.
There were all kinds of clues which were ignored. The fraud was, the first thing that was exposed was this Feeding Our Future meal program fraud, where that the federal government was paying for child nutrition programs. And so it turns out that the Somalis were claiming that they had many, many children in all these different centers, and money was being spent to feed them. There were no children in any of these cities. All of the money was used to finance these.
After that report came out, apparently there's a report. They went to Craigslist and asked for child actors to come in, and so apparently the allegedly child actors were there the following days for the cameras. By the way, here's what Tim Walz said in his statement this morning. In September, I announced that I would run for an historic third term as Minnesota's governor, and I have every confidence that if I gave it my all, I would succeed in that effort. But as I reflected on this moment with my family and my team over the holidays, I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who prey on our differences.
Yeah. Well, I don't think many people are going to fall for that. And in addition to this feeding our future fraud, that turns out that these autism programs have been, just rampant fraud, the daycare centers, housing programs, Medicaid services, and as you mentioned, preliminary estimates are that upwards of $8 to $9 billion has been stolen by these Somalis, and this is the tip of the iceberg. It's not just Minnesota. I think any place you have large concentrations of refugees, not just Somalis, but from a lot of other countries, you're going to have fraud. And
here's Elon Musk's reaction to this. And so we bid adieu, or whatever they say in Somali, to Trader Tim.
Yeah. So I think we need to take a look at Dearborn, Michigan, Chicago,
Columbus,
Los
Ohio.
Angeles. Any place there's lots of welfare, there's going to be lots of welfare fraud. And wherever you see welfare fraud, there's voting fraud as well. And that we need to keep drilling and not be distracted by Walz's announcement. Somali refugees have turned Minnesota into a third world state. And people need to recognize that Minnesota is what the U.S. would look like if Democrats were able to open the country's borders as Joe Biden did for 4 disastrous years. And this is their goal. This is not just a bug. This is a feature of what they're trying to do, get everybody on the dole, and that way you can guarantee that they're all going to vote for Democrats, and then there's going to be chaos. And once there's chaos, nobody's going to be worried about checks and balances. All you want is authority and control, which is what Democrats live for.
Yes. When we come back, a little curveball here, but actually not. Sacre bleu. We're going to talk about events in France recently. George Clooney has become a French citizen, and Brigitte Bardot has passed away. Now, you might think, what is a political news radio program going to do talking about Brigitte Bardot? Well, she was not just a sex symbol. Back with Mark Pulliam after this.
This is Crom Carmichael, CEO of Solti. We got a wonderful email from one of our customers up east named Joe, and here's what he had to say. I started taking Solti almost out of desperation with little hope because I was resigned to the futility that although I was up to taking 2 statins a day, high cholesterol was something I just had to learn to live with. In fact, when I turned 60, after taking a stress cardio test, my doctor called me on a Saturday, which of course is never a good sign, and told me that I was clogged more than 95% of the people my age. I had an angioplasty and a stent procedure done at that time. Today, my stubborn triglycerides are only 1/3 of what they had been before starting taking Solti. My prescription statin dosage has shrunk from 60 milligrams to only 10 milligrams a day. My primary care doctor that I have had for many years still can't believe the results, and neither can I. Thank you, Solti, for providing such a wonderful product. And folks, I want to invite you to take care of your heart also by going to GodzillaHeart.com. That's GodzillaHeart.com. Use the code Godzilla at checkout, and you'll get a 50% discount on your initial shipment. Thanks so much.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's the top news of the day.
There's a number of Democratic members of Congress who are pushing for impeachment. They're not just going after the president, going after RFK Jr. and others.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
Judge Weinberg.
Listen, it's the most important midterm in our lifetime.
Cats and Cosby, weekdays 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the stations of the John Frederick Media Network.
This is a big deal.
Attorney General Miyares and John Fredericks talk about skill games.
They're unregulated slot machines.
They pop up in 7-Elevens in every corner of Virginia.
The General Assembly has spoken on this.
Skill games.
These things are illegal.
It's the Wild Wild West. Fights break out. Robberies increase.
Skill games.
They prey on the less fortunate.
I say it's a tax on the poor.
They're breaking the law.
My job is to enforce the law. These machines are not allowed.
Enforce the law and get them out of there.
When you see skill games, call the local sheriff.
These things are illegal.
Paid for by Churchill Downs.
Did you ever stop and think, why do the wealthy pay less taxes than we do? One reason, they take full advantage of the IRS tax code. Today's tax code is over 2 million pages. Who can read that? Remember the 2016 debate with Hillary Clinton? When asked why he doesn't pay more taxes, President Trump had the perfect answer. He said, if you don't like the current tax code, change it. I follow the very laws that you wrote. That's where Julio Gonzalez and his company, Tax Engineered Services, comes in. Julio's team looks at your taxes after they're done, but before you file them with the IRS. He doesn't get between you and your accountant. He reviews your taxes, makes his recommendations, and only gets 5 to 10% of what he saved you. No money up front, no cost. It's tax literacy for MAGA. He also sees what grants you may qualify for. For more information, text ETS to the number 26786. That's ETS to 26786. Text now.
My fellow Americans, I was this close, very close, to buying from the lumber yards. These are sick people. But I turned my head at the last second, and I saw a big, beautiful ad for D.T. McCall's. These are highly respected people. If I had not turned my head at the last second, I would have been ripped off at some lumber yard for $200 in hidden charges, and D.T. McCall and Sons are never going to do that. They'd never do that to you. These are great people. I've known them for a long time. They have great deals, and I just have to say, nobody knows deals like I do. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. These are tremendous people. D.T. McCall & Sons. Check out one of their stores today.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Okay, so we're going to talk about Brigitte Bardot. Now, this is kind of, people are listening, what? You talk about politics. And she was, well known as a sex symbol in the 1960s. And, but she evolved into something quite differently. She died at the age of 91. And the New York Times did a story on her. It was an obituary that was really a hit job.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
Well, even entertainment stories can have political and cultural lessons, and Brigitte Bardot's obituary is an example of that. The New York Times story, the headline was, "Embracing Racism, Bardot was hero of French far right."
Hold on. The headline isn't, film sex star dies at age 91. The headline is Embracing Racism. That's the headline?
And the far right. And Americans do not understand how different we are from Europe or vice versa, and that what we decisively reelected in 2024 in America is what they would consider far right in France or in Great Britain. So who was Brigitte Bardot, and why are we talking about her? Well, she died last week at age 91. She was a major movie star worldwide, but especially in France in the 50s and 60s, starring in sensational films such as And God Created Woman in 1956. She was a sex symbol equivalent to Marilyn Monroe or Raquel Welch, although much more prolific. She appeared in over 50 films, performed in musicals, recorded albums. Her sexy film persona tested the limits of movie censors at the time. Married for a time to movie director Roger Vadim, who was also later married to Jane Fonda, Bardot stepped away from the movie industry in 1973 before she even turned 30, devoting herself instead to animal welfare advocacy.
Okay, so far, she sounds like, she was doing some good stuff.
Well,
right?
and she was. So Bardot was a devotee of pre-World War II France, and bemoaned what she regarded as the degradation of the country and its culture due to mass immigration of third world migrants who did not respect French culture or the country's Christian heritage.
This is interesting, because that's the problem with France right now.
Well, and in Hollywood, here, the problem is we have all these Hollywood entertainers, celebrities who hate America. She loved France, and she loved it so much that she was outspoken in defending what she called old France, the France that she grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the U.S., we take free speech for granted, but in many European countries, including France, the United Kingdom, and even Canada, freedom of expression has become drastically curtailed by laws that ban so-called hate speech.
Let me just add to that before you get on. Marco Rubio was talking about this the other day, a warning to Americans. If you go to Europe, they could arrest you for a social media post you've done in the States years ago. Just be warned that they don't believe in free speech anymore.
Well, in Great Britain, people get arrested for silently praying across the street from abortion clinics, just silently praying. So what did Bardot do to earn a smear upon her demise? Well, she spoke out against and wrote about the invasion of France by hordes of Muslim foreigners who do not assimilate, who defile French churches, who exhibit third world hygiene and sanitation habits, who engage in cruelty to animals, including animal sacrifice. And this was very important to her. She was a true animal lover, who do not respect women, etc. Worse, she was supported and was aligned with the equivalent of MAGA politicians in France, Jean-Marie Le Pen and his daughter Marine, who founded and led the National Front and National Rally parties. And for speaking her mind in books, articles, and even letters to France's elected officials. This is petitioning your government.
We've got that defended here in our
Constitution. Yeah. She was convicted of violating French laws against hate speech 6 times, and the government fined her. There was no jail penalty for this, but it was civil fines, incurred tens of thousands of dollars in fines. Now, because of her body of work and her popularity as an actress, she was considered a national icon in France and was awarded the equivalent of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, high honors, the highest honors that a citizen, a civilian can get in France. And yet she was harassed by these petty bureaucrats for basically saying things that we are saying right now on this show. And that's what people need to understand is once you abandon free speech and you go down this road of hate speech, regulating hate speech, punishing hate speech, that if this show was being broadcast in France, our commentary could expose us to legal liability and financial penalties for simply expressing our opinions. And we must never allow our First Amendment freedoms to be subordinated to political correctness and identity politics.
So let's say I went to France. One of these little bureaucrats might come up and say, you're arrested for hate speech.
If you and Mark Stein had to leave Canada, he was a major journalist in Canada, but he would say things about Muslims, like saying, they're not kind to women, they do not give women equivalent rights, they're peculiar, they're intolerant, they're this, they're that, saying things that are truthful. Some of them at least advocate jihad. By saying things that are derogatory towards Muslims, and especially if they are true and derogatory towards Muslims. That is considered hate speech, and he was being harassed with these similar types of legal proceedings, and he ended up moving to the United States in order to get away from this type of oppression. So this is not anything that we should dismiss as, oh, that's just some crazy thing that France is doing. It's happening all over Europe, and it's even happening in Canada, and it could happen here. This is the kind of stuff that college bureaucrats are trying to stamp out free expression on college campuses in order to maintain and enforce this orthodoxy of leftist opinion. That the First Amendment is extremely important, and we need to guard it very strongly in order to prevent us from ending up like these. And once you eliminate the potential for dissent and opposition, well, then of course they will move in and take over, and that's exactly. London is turned into a third world city. France is overrun, and other countries are falling in the same category. Germany, and if you lose your heritage, they say demographics are destiny, and they are. That you cannot allow your country to be overrun by migrants from countries whose culture, language, religion are foreign and incompatible to this host country. And they have no intention to assimilate.
None.
No.
And they're really bold about it.
So we should be remembering Brigitte Bardot not just for being a sex symbol and a pioneer when it comes to the sexual revolution, but for also being an outstanding patriot and somebody who was an outspoken defender of the West against this tide that, if we don't resist it, may engulf us all.
Well, it will engulf us all if we don't resist it. And the question is, what should that resistance look like? I was listening to Megyn Kelly, who had previously said that basically Muslims should not hold office in America. And then she said Muslims' values are incompatible with our culture.
Well, Sharia.
What do you do now, though? You got what, 3, 4, 5 million Muslims in America right now.
Yeah.
And there are the Islamists are a problem.
Yeah.
But there's a big bunch of them that are Islamists.
Well, so the first thing you do is you stop digging your hole. And
that's the first thing.
Yeah. And people need to become educated about, we're not just saying we don't like them like we would say we don't like Presbyterians, like there's something about their religion we don't like. That their religion fundamentally rests on something as antagonistic to our values. Sharia law is fundamentally incompatible with our Constitution. Nobody who subscribes to Sharia law could honestly swear to uphold our Constitution. And people, not all Muslims, but many Muslims believe that the Quran mandates jihad, which is death to non-believers, and not just Jewish non-believers, that would include Christian non-believers. People need to take this seriously because they take it very seriously. That it's a medieval type religion that holds its adherents in that type of a grip, the same grip that in Europe Christians were burning heretics at the stake. That mentality lives on in the Middle East and countries that are governed by radical Muslim clerics.
In 2006, Mark Stein, who you mentioned, wrote a book, America Alone, The End of the World as We Know It. He wrote, "Someday soon you might wake up to the call to prayer from a muezzin. Europeans already are, and liberals will still tell you that diversity is our strength, while Talibanic enforcers cruise Greenwich Village, burning books and barbershops. The Supreme Court decides Sharia law doesn't violate the separation of church and state, and the Hollywood left decides to give up on gay rights in favor of the much safer charms of polygamy. If you think this can't happen, you haven't been paying attention." Well, guess what?
This is in 2006?
2006.
He was prescient. And this, in Minnesota, the lieutenant governor, Peggy Flanagan, who is running for the open Senate seat in Minnesota in 2026, recently posed for a picture wearing a hijab. Why? Why are you
pandering for votes?
Pandering,
yeah.
which
surrender.
You
surrender of the West.
Yeah.
And on that happy note, when we come back, speaking of surrender, Nicolas Maduro forced surrender. More on that with Mark Pulliam after this.
Ponder this. Most of us are familiar with social media influencers. People that claim expertise on some probably irrelevant topic. Many hours are wasted following people online who do not add an ounce of value to our lives. There is only one influencer who matters, and you should be following him and his messages every day. He holds the keys to our peace. He shows us how to live lives of meaning. He is there to help us carry our daily crosses. He is Jesus Christ, and he is the influencer extraordinaire. Are you one of his followers? Or are you wasting time with useless information that will not bring peace and love to your life? Ask the Lord each day to provide you with spiritual influence that will change your life forever. I'm Susie Kelly, and I am passionately Catholic.
Did you ever stop and think, why do the wealthy pay less taxes than we do? One reason, they take full advantage of the IRS tax code. Today's tax code is over 2 million pages. Who can read that? Remember the 2016 debate with Hillary Clinton? When asked why he doesn't pay more taxes, President Trump had the perfect answer. He said, if you don't like the current tax code, change it. I follow the very laws that you wrote. That's where Julio Gonzalez and his company, Tax Engineered Services, comes in. Julio's team looks at your taxes after they're done, but before you file them with the IRS. He doesn't get between you and your accountant. He reviews your taxes, makes his recommendations, and only gets 5 to 10% of what he saved you. No money up front, no cost. It's tax literacy for MAGA. He also sees what grants you may qualify for. For more information, text ETS to the number 26786. That's ETS to 26786. Text now.
What if you had a plan to build income outside your job? At Lifestyles Unlimited, you'll learn how people are investing in real estate to grow their income and make smarter financial choices one property at a time. Right now, join us for just $297. That's a savings of $443 off our real estate education program. Text RADIO to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
Get in. We're stealing homes. We're not like those other home criminals that steal your stuff. We steal your hard-earned home equity. We find your property online from the public record. Got it. Create a deed transfer that makes us the homeowners. Got it. And borrow tons of cash against your equity, and you won't know till the foreclosure notice hits months later.
Just go to HometitleLock.com/Godzilla. Protect yourself.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia traffic stop and was the first to obtain that video. Independent journalism at its finest. Visit us at GlockStore.com, listen to Michael Patrick Leahy, and make America great again.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
In studio, it's Monday, which means in hour 2 of Monday, it's always Mark Pulliam, author of Misrule of Law, a very distinguished retired attorney. I try to drag him back in, but he says, no, I like just pontificating and don't need to be doing all that legal stuff anymore. Speaking of that, what were you doing Saturday? When did you find out that we had captured and extracted Nicolas Maduro?
Well, I guess I was doing what a lot of people were doing, still kind of waking up to the fact that we have a new year, and deposing the president of Venezuela was not on my or many other people's list of predictions for the new year.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, almost without any fanfare, boom, it had happened, and it had happened perfectly, without any American loss of life, without any loss of military assets. We had this amazing military maneuver, 150 aircraft launching from roughly 20 bases and multiple platforms at sea, and with Delta Force and this and that, and snatched him out of a heavily fortified compound in the middle of a military base.
Yeah.
Before he was able to lock himself in a safe room. And in addition to all of the military personnel, there were FBI agents there, because the whole point of the mission
was law enforcement,
was to execute an arrest warrant.
It was not a military action. It was a law enforcement action, because he'd been indicted for drug trafficking back in 2020.
He and his wife both. So a lot of people of course, all the left, their head is exploding because anything Trump does is an abomination. But on the right, you have some people, Thomas Massey among others, hanky twisting over this, and Marjorie Taylor Greene,
of course. Who, by the way, here's the good news. Would you like to know about this? The good news is that as of midnight tonight, she will no longer be a member of Congress.
Oh, good. I think we've seen or heard enough of her. So I, for one, am somebody, I'm not into nation building in the Middle East. I'm not into endless wars that cost trillions of dollars and thousands of lives. But I do take our hemisphere seriously. And I think it is important that President Trump, when he gives ultimatums, that those ultimatums be respected and even feared. And we gave Nicolas Maduro lots of warning and lots of opportunity that if you do not stop what you're doing with the narco-terrorism and by diverting all your oil to Cuba and to China, that, and they had a whole bunch of stuff going on in Venezuela with, it was a hotbed for all of these bad actors, Iran, Syria, Cuba, whatever. It was a staging area for hostile anti-American activities, including terrorist Hezbollah. And he told him, you got to knock this off. And if you want to abdicate, we will find some comfortable place for you to live. And Maduro said, I'm not going anywhere. And so in addition to MAGA, President Trump wants his administration to be known by another acronym, FAFO.
Yeah.
And so Maduro, as soon as he said, you can pound sand, Donald Trump, I'm not going anywhere, he sealed his fate.
He did.
And next thing he knows, he's surrounded by Delta Force people, and he's being snatched and put on a helicopter, and he's making his appearance in federal court today in New York. Now, so it was an amazing operation. It was conducted flawlessly. And it makes you realize that Pete Hegseth has been getting a lot of bad press, undeservedly bad press. He has turned this operation and the eliminating the Iranian nuclear program.
Those are two perfect operations.
Shows that our military has unsurpassed ability to inflict damage.
And thank goodness for that.
Yeah. And just think about it, though. The intelligence triumph. The CIA had operatives on the ground in Venezuela who knew exactly what Maduro's schedule was, his routine, his comings and goings. They had, they had replicas of his palace. They had play acted, rehearsed all of this many times. It was a military, and none of this got leaked. Military triumph that Venezuela had these Russian air defenses that were just totally annihilated. They were shredded. These were supposed to be state of the art, and they.
And by the way, just because I think I told our audience, I've been to Caracas. I've flown into Caracas. It is not an easy place to fly into, because you've got the ocean on one side, but then you have these very steep mountains, like right around it. So that particular operation it's difficult for a regular commercial pilot to fly into Maiquetía, the airport there. These were military precise operations, and they went perfectly.
Yeah, and that makes Americans proud. Americans like to win, and they like to win against legitimate bad guys who are in a position to do us harm, and Nicolas Maduro was doing lots of harm. It was a law enforcement triumph. Maduro and his wife had both been indicted in the U.S. for narco trafficking and other crimes, and in fact, Joe Biden had his administration had put, I think, a $25 million reward up.
All
for
the
his
Democrats have forgotten about that.
Chuck Schumer previously criticized Trump because he had not done enough to get rid of Maduro.
And that's it for Mark Pulliam this Monday.
All righty.
Will you be back next Monday?
I will.
Same time, same place.
Yep.
All right, Mark Pulliam, the one, the only, Misrule of Law. That is the blog you can find all of his opining at. Hey, up next, Bob Luddy joins us talking about the need to seek wisdom. Back after this.
The Katz and Cosby Show.
It's the top news of the day.
There's a number of Democratic members of Congress who are pushing for impeachment, not just going after the president, going after RFK Jr. and others.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
Judge Weinberg.
Listen, it's the most important midterm in our lifetime.
Katz and Cosby, weekdays 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the stations of the John Frederick Media Network.
This is a big deal.
Let's be real. Losing weight isn't just about looking good. It's about taking back control of your overall health. 42% of adults in America are classified as obese, and obesity is directly linked to severe health issues. If you've tried diets and different workouts with no success, it's not your fault. Big Food and Big Pharma have rigged the system against you with contradicting information, leaving you confused. But there's good news. The Wellness Company just launched Drop, a GLP-1 peptide oral drop formula developed by their chief medical board, specifically designed to support your metabolism, curb cravings, and help you shed weight. That's right. No injections, no risk of the severe side effects we're seeing with the Ozempic. Start your weight loss journey today and get $100 off, plus free shipping. Go to twc.health/Godzilla and use promo code Godzilla100. That's twc.health/Godzilla. Promo code Godzilla100. Take action today for a healthier tomorrow.
John Fredericks loves his radio and TV audience, but did you know how to follow the Godzilla of Truth wherever you go? Download the John Fredericks Radio Show app to listen live nationwide. For the daily chit-chat, Trucking the Truth, download the Getter app and join the morning fun on Getter Live from 6 to 10 a.m. Follow John
Get your truth by the truckload from America's Godzilla of Truth, The John Frederick Show, weekdays 5 to 9 a.m. on WENO Nashville, KQPN West Memphis.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is ending his bid for a third term as governor. Just last month, Walz blamed massive entitlement fraud in his state on fraudsters who exploited the state's liberal policies.
We are a state that chooses not to let people go hungry or homeless or uneducated. However, that generosity has been taken advantage of by an organized group of fraudsters and criminals. And so long-standing high standards of integrity of public funds go hand in hand with a culture of generosity.
There is word now that U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, a Democrat, will run to replace Walz. Deposed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro sent to make his first court appearance today on the narco-terrorism charges that the administration used to justify his capture and extradition to New York. President Trump addressed the issue last night to reporters on board Air Force One.
We have a very sick neighbor. It's not a neighbor, but it's close to a neighbor, and that's Venezuela. It's very sick.
Colombia is very sick too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States. And he's not going to be doing it very long, let me tell you.
Maduro and his wife were expected to appear at noon Eastern Time before a judge for a brief but required legal proceeding. Millions of Americans are facing higher health care costs with the arrival of 2026. Here's Greg Cluxton.
Democrats forced a 6-week government shutdown over the expiring Obamacare tax credits, but the clash with President Trump and Republicans did not result in any changes. Congress offered no fix before the New Year's Day deadline for the subsidies, which were enacted during the pandemic. On average, the more than 20 million subsidized enrollees in the Affordable Care Act program are seeing their premium costs rise by 114%, according to an analysis by the healthcare research nonprofit KFF. Greg Clugston, Washington.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-893-2288. That's 800-893-2288.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage, no medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Here's Rich Thomas now with the Wall Street Business Report.
The toppling of the Maduro regime in Venezuela is not expected to have much of an immediate impact on oil prices. Venezuela's oil industry, built decades ago by American energy companies and expertise, is in disrepair after years of neglect and international sanctions. So it will likely take years and major investment before production can significantly increase. Advances across industries like robotics, healthcare and vehicles, wearables, gaming, and more are set to be on display as the annual CES trade show gets underway this week in Vegas, a multi-day event organized by the Consumer Technology Association. Wall Street's big focus remains on the tech sector and the expanding use of artificial intelligence. The sector has been key in the broader market's recent volatility. I'm Rich Thomason.
Breaking news at townhall.com. A French verdict comes down on the side of the nation's first lady in a case involving online defamation.
A Paris court has found 10 people guilty of cyberbullying France's First Lady Brigitte Macron by spreading false online claims about her gender, including allegations she was born a man. The court convicted all defendants to sentences ranging from a cyberbullying awareness training to 8-month suspended prison sentences. The defendants are accused of having posted numerous malicious comments. Brigitte Macron did not attend the 2-day trial in October. Speaking on TFI national television on Sunday, she said she'd launched legal proceedings to set an example in the fight against harassment. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Hundreds of people march in silence on Sunday to remember the victims of the New Year's Eve fire at a bar in the Swiss Alpine resort of Crans, Montana. That fire left 40 people dead, many still recovering from severe burns. More on these stories at Town.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We welcome to our Zoom Newsmaker line right now our very good friend Bob Luddy, the founder of Captive Air, a very successful entrepreneur and a leader in American education, the founder of Thales Academy. Welcome, Bob. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Starting right here in the new year.
Yeah, we're doing great. So you wrote a book. You've been very successful in your career. Captive Air is the leading provider of commercial HVAC systems for restaurants around the country. You founded it when? Back in 1978? And how long ago did you find?
1976.
76, yeah.
Which actually was a good year. There was many interesting modern day businesses that were started in the mid-70s.
Well, 1976, that was our 200th anniversary as a country. We are now 50 years later. We're at the 250th anniversary of our country. 50 years of great business success. Hats off to you on that, Bob. And you're the leader in that space.
You know, you learn a lot over a period of 50 years if you're paying attention. And one of the things that we've tried to do is increase the performance of our equipment to keep it modern. And about every 10 years, we have a new platform, improved technology, and then we work for the next 10 years to make it perfect and to drive down cost, which is critical in the modern market because, as you know, inflation has been a big challenge in recent years. So entrepreneurs need to provide higher quality and lower cost, which is a challenge, but it's one that we have to meet.
You had written a book about entrepreneurship earlier. We talked about that, I think, a couple of years ago. But now you have a book out that came out this summer from Thales Press called Seeking Wisdom, The Road to Prosperity. It's been very well received. It's 131 pages. It's been reviewed in American Spectator as the best book someone read in 2025, an unexpected gem. Now, when you say seeking wisdom, the road to prosperity, what do you mean by prosperity, Bob?
Prosperity is whatever your application, whatever you want to achieve in life, is prosperity in your lifetime. So it doesn't imply money, although some people might think it does. So if you want to be a great teacher, that means you're prosperous. If you want to be a great radio broadcaster, an inventor, a scientist, whatever you want to achieve, a great family member, that's prosperity, as defined by the book.
I note that the title begins Seeking Wisdom. It seems to me that that's kind of been your whole life, Bob. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I try to remind people that seeking is the key word. So if we're constantly trying to improve our wisdom, and the Bible says, and I've quoted it in the book, if we want to be joyful and happy, we have to seek wisdom. We're all subject to making error because we're human. But over time, we can learn from our mistakes and our errors, and we can learn the best possible behavior and make better judgments. So if you think about it, you go to school and you spend a lot of time trying to gain knowledge. And now in the modern world, particularly with the advent of AI, the idea is everything's going to be AI, spreadsheets, algorithms, automated responses. But what the human brain can do, a human with a soul, they can make very correct decisions based on a myriad of factors that could never be programmed into AI. I've got a good friend, Adrian Bijan, who came up with this idea. He's a physicist, HI, human intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So every one of us has human intelligence, but we have to work our entire lifetime as how to effectively use that intelligence for great outcomes. And great outcomes lead to prosperity. It's pretty simple in concept, but somewhat challenging to actually live that good life and to become wise over time and become wise for the purpose of making good decisions and good contributions to our society.
Now, you grew up near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, into a Catholic family. You went to St. Francis of Assisi Elementary School. Did you have the nuns teaching you there?
We certainly did. We had all nuns. And interesting, in the eighth grade, because it was K-8, it was actually first through eighth, the nun who taught the eighth grade was also the principal. So think about the efficiency. And every once in a while, she would be called out of her room because there was some problem she would have to solve. And usually it would be 5 minutes. And of course, in a Catholic school, we were very well disciplined. And she didn't have to worry if she left the room for 5 minutes that there would be any chaos.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And of course, if there was for any reason, the girls would report the boys. So we were onto that.
So Bob, you went to St. Francis of Assisi Elementary School. I went to St. John's Academy, where the Sisters of Mercy were there. And this was you grew up at the time when the
that's
sisters,
what we had. Same thing, Sisters of Mercy.
Yeah. Oh, really? That's interesting because that was a terrific order, and they were very great disciplinarians. I'll tell you that. I remember our principal, Sister Mary Nora, and then we had Sister Joseph Marie in first grade, and then Sister Theophane. There's her name, who was like 6'4". In one of those, you did not mess around with Sister Theophane. You learned how to behave, and of course, at that time, you talk about seeking wisdom. You may have had the same experience. We were taught the Baltimore Catechism. Was that part of it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To be memorized.
Exactly.
And to be followed.
Yeah, you had to do it.
If we were in church and there was maybe 250 kids in the grade school, every student knelt perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing, and I would be included, today at 80 years old, we still kneel perfectly because what those nuns taught us and why it was important.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of how important K-8 is in terms of the formation of the individual. Because those habits are going to endure for the majority of people, and they're important.
It's interesting you mentioned that. The habits developed K-8. I'm looking at our education system, and you've got a terrific group of schools, Thales Academy. I think we're at 14, 15 schools now in 3 or 4 states, and done very, very well using basically the classical formula, grammar, logic, and rhetoric, K through 12, preparing kids for college. But you know what? I'm kind of a feeling that our big problem right now as a country is developing virtue in kids and in the ability to do basically 4 things: read, write, execute mathematical formulas, and think. Those things are the key things that need to be done. And really, you do it at K-5 and Thales Academy. I think K-8, if you think about it, some of the greatest Americans only went through an 8th grade education, like Thomas Alva Edison.
Ralph Kettner, the founder of Food Lion, in his book, he calls it 5 Easy Pennies, said he was the master of arithmetic. And I knew Ralph Kettner a little bit. And really what he was saying is, based on small amount of data, he could do computations in his head, and he had common sense.
There's the key, which is totally like, hey, stick around. We're going to take a 3-minute break and then come back and finish up. I want to get more into your personal story that in many elements mirrors the story of America in the past 50 years. Back with the great Bob Luddy after this.
Folks, John Fredericks here for Freedom Alliance. Veterans are still struggling with the wounds of war. They came home with injuries that changed them forever. The flag-burning troublemakers in our streets remind me how fortunate we are to have patriots who served and fought, sacrificed, and never complained. We need to support them through organizations like the Freedom Alliance. It's Military Appreciation Month and time to support those who serve. Freedom Alliance is caring for combat veterans and military families. Combat veterans fought in the worst, most dangerous places on earth. Freedom Alliance takes them to nature's most relaxing locations so they can heal. Freedom Alliance gives injured troops mortgage-free homes, new cars, and all-terrain wheelchairs. For wounded vets, there's nothing like the stability of your own home, the reinsurance of a reliable vehicle, or the independence of a wheelchair that navigates snow, ice, beach, pasture, or most any terrain. Let's fight for those who fought for us. Go to freedomalliance.org/Godzilla and make a monthly gift that will improve the life of a military hero. That's freedomalliance.org/Godzilla. Make a contribution today.
If you're like me, most moms find it difficult to prioritize self-care. Hi, it's Colleen, Program Director at the John Fredericks Media Network. With the demands of programming 13 radio stations, it's easy to forget about the things I should do for myself daily. And that's why I started with our company's Women's Challenge with Native Path Collagen Peptides. It's affordable and convenient care in just 1 scoop a day. There are so many incredible health benefits like bone and joint support, metabolism booster, and hair, skin, and nail improvement. I like to take a moment each day to prioritize myself and indulge in the health-boosting benefits of Native Path Collagen Peptides. I love mixing it up with all the different smoothie recipes, too. Learn more about Native Path Collagen Peptides and read 7 important reasons why you should be taking collagen peptides at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Prioritize your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today and get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
Target.com. Target.com is an online e-commerce tire retailer. We are here to serve the American public with the best possible customer service, the best pricing, and we make it extremely easy. We have many name brands and a lot of low-cost tires. The price is right, and it's easy. You go online to Target.com, Tireget.com, Target.com. You go there, you put your zip code in, all the inventory displays right in front of you. You can call in for help if you want to. We'll help you get the tire that you need. But we will take the tires you buy and at no extra charge deliver them to the dealer right by your house where they will be installed at the market price. It's easy. The best price, the best service. Great people to deal with. Thank you for going to Target.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Our guest is Bob Luddy. His book, Seeking Wisdom, The Road to Prosperity. Bob, wanted to kind of continue your own mission of seeking wisdom in your life. So you went to Catholic elementary school, Catholic high school. Somewhere along the way, you went to college, and then you went to Vietnam. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I went to LaSalle College in Philadelphia, majored in finance, but at that time, we had to take about 30 hours of philosophy and theology. So I became very interested in philosophy. As soon as my deferment was, or my college degree was complete, the deferment was gone, and I was drafted, sent to Fort Bragg, and then ended up my last year, 2-year commitment in Vietnam. Fortunately, I was placed with the First Log Command outside of Saigon, so I was extremely lucky. And I think probably one of the things I learned was wars aren't a really great idea. They cause a lot of hardship, and if there's going to be a war, it should be an awfully good reason.
What were your duties in Vietnam, Bob?
Primarily in the finance division, payroll, travel, anything they need in finance. I used to drive the major around for appointments that he had, so our division was run by a major. They always used military payment certificates, so there wasn't green cash. It's the way that they kind of controlled the currency in theater.
So when you're there, in the middle of the war, working there, what sort of wisdom were you seeking during that period of time?
We need to start to think about government and wars and education.
Mm-hmm.
And, in that time frame, I don't know the exact number, but I would say a third, maybe 40% of the men I was with were college graduates.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a fairly erudite group of can-do people. But I started to think more about government and life and try to develop a sound philosophy of life. So, that dates back to my college years, but it became very important with Cap de Vere. How can we make a contribution that's superior to what's in the marketplace? So we began with commercial kitchen ventilation. If you went back to 1985, most of these commercial restaurants had pretty nasty environments in the kitchen. Smoke roll out, heat, grease on the floor. So we just decided we were going to take these problems one by one and solve them. And if you fast forward 40 years later, most of those problems have been solved. Modern day kitchens, in many cases, have moved into the dining room. So there's no margin for error. So now we have dramatically improved HVAC systems. We have ventilation systems that actually work at much lower CFM, much more energy efficient, and they're far safer. Along the way, we decided that the fire suppression systems available in restaurants were inadequate. So Captive Air invented its own fire suppression technology using water. So essentially, we have a sprinkler system putting out grease fires if they occur. And based on this fire in Switzerland over the weekend, I think everybody has a realization fire protection in commercial buildings is extremely important for life safety and operations.
You've mentioned
so
that.
we take these things very seriously. And that's so essentially we were able to redefine the standards for commercial kitchen ventilation. And those standards are very good. And that allowed Captive Air to be the dominant company in that field in North America, including Canada and Mexico.
But not in Switzerland, right? But you looked at that.
Not in Switzerland.
But you looked at that situation, and I'm sure you said, "Oh, there are some problems I can see over there."
Well, there's some articles already written. Now, that particular fire didn't come from a cooking; it just came from really bad design and taking risks that should never be taken in a commercial building.
Yeah,
so we take life safety, quality, personal safety, building safety very seriously. And that's allowed us to make a huge contribution to, and interesting with our sprinkler system, every single fire that's occurred has been put out by the Captive Air core fire suppression system. So I think this idea of constantly trying to improve is basically imperative for all humans in whatever your endeavor is. And that's how I kind of moved toward this idea of seeking wisdom, not just knowledge. Google has more knowledge than we'll ever have, but being able to use that knowledge productively and beneficially for society.
So the difference in, you would say, in defining the difference between wisdom and knowledge is to take the knowledge to use it productively for society.
Exactly. And for all humans, that can be difficult. I mean, just think about some basic things. Trying to be a parent, that's a lifetime of work, and we never reach perfection. But we have to keep trying to improve the outcome. In any, if you look at 50 years later, Captive Air, the list of things that we want to improve is longer now than it was 50 years ago or 40 years ago, because we've moved to a higher state of the art, and we always are recognizing new opportunities to improve performance, quality, safety, cost, availability, etc. That process basically never ends. And I think humans instinctively want it to end so that they can be comfortable. And the way life is set up, if you look at the natural order, there is no comfort. And if you observe animals and you observe nature, the world's dynamic. It's constantly changing. Even though in a given day we may not notice it, humans have to be the same thing. And yet, to some degree, we're wired for comfort. So we have to overcome our own personal inertia. And we like to use the term Kaizen, continuous improvement, constantly evaluating and making things better.
Now, I noticed that you probably have an audience in mind for the book when you wrote Seeking Wisdom, The Road to Prosperity. My guess, knowing you, is you wrote this for everybody.
Absolutely. Because at whatever age, my mother lived to be 98, and she was, even though her eyesight wasn't great, she was still reading books at 97 and 98, trying to improve, trying to impart information to her children and her grandchildren. So this idea of taking in knowledge, but then spending time to think about that knowledge, and and to self-reflect. And this actually can be done every day. How is my behavior? Am I a good person? Am I making good decisions? Am I kind? All the things we expect from everybody else. So an easy way to think of it, everything we expect from everybody else should be focused internally. Are we that person? Because there's a tendency, we know what's wrong with everybody else, but not ourselves.
Yeah,
so the idea is just take that application internally.
Yeah.
How am I doing? How do I measure up based on the standards I set for other people? I think that's a good way to look at it.
You mentioned you're a very busy guy. You're running Captive Air. You're running Thales Academy. You got the Thales University starting, doing very well. How do you set aside the time in your day, or when do you do? What's your pattern for setting some time aside to think about seeking wisdom?
Simple process. Avoid most all meetings. Most people that want to come meet with me, it can be handled in an email probably in 2 to 3 minutes. I try to keep my schedule wide open. So, for example, you asked if I could come on the show, and I said, sure, I can come on there tomorrow, the next day, or the following day. And that allows me to meet important priorities that come up throughout the day. It also, particularly later in the day, allows me time to read, to think, and to plan. And that's virtually every day. There's some exceptions, obviously, but that's an integral part of my schedule. But the big part is don't be fully scheduled, and don't schedule trivial type of meetings. They're a waste of time. Schedule time to think and to grow and to read.
You know, you sound a lot like, or somebody may have read your book, the head coach at Indiana University football, Curt Cignetti. If you've watched him, he says, look, we get everything done real quickly and we don't waste a lot of time. Very impressive.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the basis of entrepreneurism. So he's an entrepreneurial coach.
And a very successful one at that. Bob, it is always a great pleasure to have you on. And of course, we'd like to have you on more to talk a little bit about education and our thoughts on education, what you're doing with Thales Academy, and particularly with Thales University. Your first class graduated. Kids can go there, and finish in 3 years. And what's the total cost to go to Thales University?
$32,000 for the whole thing.
I'm very impressed with your first class of 8. And I think they're well on the way to being very successful. And clearly, they've started to seek wisdom. Bob Luddy, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be with you, Michael. Look forward again sometime soon.
The book is Seeking Wisdom, The Road to Prosperity by Bob Luddy. Get it at Amazon. Bob, thanks again. Really a great American. We'll have more when we get back. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.
EJ Haast here, founder of the Digital Footprint Management Agency and frequent guest on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, here to tell you about GetFoundEverywhere.com. Customers are searching for your business everywhere: Google, Apple Maps, TikTok, and new AI platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini, which is a total disruptor. Traditional search engine optimization isn't dead, but it is on life support. Old tactics don't work anymore. So how can you make your business stand out? GetFoundEverywhere.com makes your business pop on over 50 search, map, review, and AI-driven platforms. With one easy dashboard, manage business profiles, social media accounts, direct messages, even texts and reviews. GetFoundEverywhere.com is affordable, boosts your visibility, and gets your business more customers. It's time to step up your game the easy way. Save time, save money, and get more customers with GetFoundEverywhere.com.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do.
One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of Glockstore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at Glockstore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at Glockstore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
My fellow Americans, my good friends, I've known them for a long time, at D.T. McCall & Sons have the deal of a lifetime for you, and nobody knows deals like I do. That much I can tell you. Nobody knows deals like I do. The lumber yards, they can hit you with hidden charges for up to $200 extra. They'll charge you for cords and hoses and haul-offs. Your money goes all over the place and out of the state, and most importantly, out of your pockets. How do they get away with that? I don't know how they do that, but on day one, if you buy from McCall's, we are going to stop the hidden charges as soon as you buy it. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. Head to one of their stores today or check them out at dtmccalls.com. You're going to love it, believe me.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We thank our very good friend Bob Luddy for coming on to this program. Very busy guy. But, oh my goodness, a lot you can learn. His book is Seeking Wisdom and The Road to Prosperity. And I tell you what, that is an outstanding interview and really good advice. Now, I mentioned Curt Cignetti, the head coach at Indiana University, who's been very successful. And he was talking about how to use your time. This is spectacular, and it's right along in line with what we were hearing from Bob Luddy just a minute ago. Here's Curt Cignetti.
I was growing up, I didn't like when people wasted my time, and I don't want to waste the players' time, and I don't want to waste the coaches' time, and I don't make the coaches stay at night. Maybe that's why I got guys been with me so long. All right, and we start at 7:30 in the morning like everybody else. And you stay till your work's done. And I'm not checking to see who's there and who isn't, right? But I can tell you one thing, when we're in that office, it's all business. You know, it is all business. It's organized, preparation. And we're on that practice field. Look, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, hour 35 to an hour 45. Hour 35 to an hour 45. Monday, walkthrough. Friday, shorter walkthrough. I believe in keeping them fresh and healthy. And our players like the way we run the program. We've had a great culture for the last 8 to 10 years downstairs. You know, and you can't put a value on a great culture. Now, winning helps, no doubt. But the right kind of people believing in your process, your blueprint, your plan helps too.
Yeah, interesting. By the way, I don't know if you saw this. You watched the game between Indiana and Alabama. Of course, Indiana, you know, they're undefeated this year, and they beat Ohio State 13-10. Ohio State lost to Miami in the quarterfinals, but let me tell you something. Indiana destroyed Alabama 38-3, and you could see. I really bring up the Curt Cignetti thing because I really like this guy's approach. He's very focused, but he doesn't, waste time. If the memes of this guy on the sideline, he is so serious, so intense, so involved on it. Very, very impressive. You got to, if you haven't seen any of these Curt Cignetti clips, watching him on the sideline, he's a very intense guy and very well done. Okay. Anyways, had to go out and finish off that theme from Bob Luddy's Seeking Wisdom books. Let's go now to somebody who's not seeking wisdom, somebody who's dishonest and has ulterior motives. I'm speaking, of course, of Jack Smith, who we got the clips of his depositions, and they are damning of the guy. Jack Smith, of course, as you know, was the special prosecutor, illegally appointed, as it turned out, who was not confirmed by the Senate, who was basically told by the Attorney General Merrick Garland to go after and get Donald Trump. Listen to what he says here about the fact that, in his view, Donald Trump didn't have First Amendment rights to say there were problems with the 2020 election. Let's play this clip right now.
As I sit here right now, I can't remember specific conversations. I do remember that we knew that a sort of First Amendment defense would be part of the case. And I think when I mentioned to you earlier about how to frame the case, we want to make clear that this was not about trying to interfere with anyone's First Amendment rights, that this was a fraud. And as you know, under Supreme Court precedent, fraud is not protected by the First Amendment. And so in my mind, it was important to make that clear in the indictment. And that's why when we litigated this issue before the district court, we prevailed.
But the president's statements that he believed the election was rife with fraud, those certainly are statements that are protected by the First Amendment, correct?
Absolutely not if they are made to target a lawful government function and they are made with knowing falsity. No, they're not. That was my point about fraud not being protected by the First Amendment.
Okay, hold on before we go here. Look at this is okay. This is why people despise much of the legal system today, because it's being abused by dishonest people like Jack Smith. What's he saying? Is he seeking wisdom here? No, he is not. He is trying to basically put a political prisoner in jail. And listen to what he says. Oh, yeah, the president didn't have First Amendment rights. There's Supreme Court precedent. He didn't set that. What fraud is not a protection against free speech. The president has every right in the world. And increasingly, the evidence seems to be there that the 2020 election was stolen. Just take a look at all the stuff going on in Georgia, which we reported on extensively back at that time in December of 2020. But he says, oh no, the president doesn't have a right to state that there were elements of fraud in the election because he's interfering with a lawful government operation. What on earth? What George Orwellian newspeak is that? Let's continue a little bit more with this Orwellian junk from Jack Smith.
I mean, there's a long list of disputed elections. I mean, the election of 1800, 1960, year 2000, where candidates believe they were wronged by because they lost. And there's a long history of candidates speaking out about they believe there's been fraud, there's been other problems with the integrity of the election process. And I think you would agree that those types of statements are sort of at the core of the First Amendment rights of a presidential candidate, right?
There is no historical analog for what President Trump did in this case. As we said in the indictment, he was free to say that he thought he won the election. He was even free to say falsely that he won the election. But what he was not free to do was violate federal law and use knowingly false statements about election fraud to target a lawful government function. Mm-hmm. That he was not allowed to do. And that differentiates this case from any past history.
That doesn't make any sense. Now, he talked about the Supreme Court precedents that say fraud is not protected by the First Amendment. What are those precedents? Well, there's a case from 2003, Illinois ex rel Madigan v. Telemarketing Associates, where the court unanimously held, quote, the First Amendment does not shield fraud. In that case, the court upheld a state's ability to pursue fraud claims against charitable fundraisers who made knowingly false or misleading representations to donors about how contributions would be used, distinguishing such intentional deception from protected charitable speeches. Well, that's not comparable at all. Another case, United States v. Alvarez, 2012. The plurality in concurring opinions noted that false statements in contexts like fraud or defamation remain unprotected, even while striking down a broader ban on false claims of military honors. In United States v. Stevens, 2010, the court observed that preventing fraud has, quote, never been thought to raise any constitutional problems. And then 76, Virginia State Board of Pharmacy versus Virginia Citizens Consumer Council. Untruthful or fraudulent commercial speech can be prohibited. Well, yeah, that's not comparable at all. This guy, Jack Smith, himself is going to be subjected to prosecution, I think, for a deprivation of rights against Donald Trump. We'll see how that all plays out. Okay, now, I wanted to talk a little bit about another problem, and that is Zoran Mamdani. He was inaugurated and he gave a big speech January 1st, just 4 days ago. Listen to what he had to say.
We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. If our
the frigidity of individualism with the warmth, frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. That's what he said. As mayor, he wants to replace that. Basically, he's using the office of mayor to set forth a national agenda to destroy, basically, the Constitutional Republic of America. That's what they're doing there. Rugged individualism is what has created the wealth and prosperity of the United States of America. Collectivism has been proven time and time again to result in disaster. Who benefits from collectivism? The people at the top enforcing collectivism. That's who benefits from it. All the other people are just, they're just told what to do. That's where they're headed in New York City. And as we talked about earlier with Mark Pulliam, they are headed down to a path of a cabinet filled with apparatchiks. That's the term to describe the political officers of the old communist Soviet Union. That's what he has. Who are his apparatchiks? Well, we played that clip of his director of tenant relations who's going to redefine the concept of property. In other words, they're going to steal the property of property owners. Now, you've got a millennia of English Anglo-American law that was developed around property rights. It's the core of understanding how our economy and rights work. They're going to just make that go away? It's not going to be good. Not going to be good at all. And you talk about the warmth of collectivism. What they're going to do is they're going to step on anybody who goes out of line with their desire to have socialist control of everything. And this is a witch's brew of socialism and Islamist totalitarianism. This is coming from the guy who was still a citizen of Uganda, and he swore his oath of office upon the Quran, not upon the Bible. I think do we have time for the Scott Adams clip, or do we need to play that? I think let's see if we can, let's hold that off. I'm going to go with a news potpourri item. In contrast to this push for Islamist socialist totalitarianism from Zoran Mamdani, Scott Adams, who is apparently in his last days, has a few words to say about Christianity. We'll have that and more when we get back in News Potpourri. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.
This is Tom Carmichael, CEO of Soul Tea, a supplement to help you have a healthier heart and stronger cardiovascular system. At Soul Tea, we regularly get emails from our customers telling us how Soul Tea has helped them. Like this one from Kelly. Hello, I'm 58 years old and have had high cholesterol for years. I wanted to stay away from prescription drugs. My husband and I have been using Soul Tea for about 13 months. My results have been amazing. My cholesterol levels went from 291 to 129. I am so impressed with Soul Tea and want to thank you. Now, in my own case, my bad cholesterol dropped from 130 to 89, and that was 20 years ago. I'm 75 years old and I take 0 prescription drugs. To get a great deal on Soul Tea, please go to GodzillaHeart.com, and when you check out, use the code Godzilla to get our best deal, which is 50% off your first shipment and then 3 bottles for the price of 2 thereafter. You don't have to live with a broken heart.
Do you suffer from
Try
declining
Soul Tea
bone and
today.
joint health? Hi, it's Tina with the John Fredericks Media Network. And when I heard about our company's Women's Challenge, I jumped on the opportunity to test this amazing supplement that's already restoring my bone density, soothing my joint pain, and helping me regain lost mobility. I've experienced so many benefits in such a short time with Native Path Collagen Peptides because they support my bones and joints, boost my metabolism, and unleash the most radiant skin and hair since my 20s. In just 2 weeks, my knee stiffness is gone, and I'm already hitting the gym more aggressively. And I get so many compliments on my glowy skin and shiny hair. Native Path Collagen Peptides are so easy to take. They're tasteless, odorless, and mix great with my morning coffee. Read thousands of 5-star reviews at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Level up your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today. And get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Well, folks, it's that time of day. It's time for News Potpourri. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, News Potpourri. This is the portion of the program we talk about those stories of note, don't necessarily merit a full segment, and may have a touch of irony. Well, here's a little bit of NFL football news. Head coach is fired so far. Raheem Morris of the Atlanta Falcons has been fired. Pete Carroll of the Las Vegas Raiders has been fired. And Kevin Stefanski has been fired by the Cleveland Browns. There'll be more to come, I think. But those are the 3 that are gone right now. Here's an interesting story. Scott Adams, the guy Dilbert, good guy, great guy, funny guy. He's been doing Scott Adams with coffee on Rumble and Twitter for a long, long time. he's had, I think, for like 6 months or so, prostate cancer, and is apparently his prognosis is not good. And he's been sort of an interesting fellow, agnostic, atheist, maybe agnostic, I guess, in most of his life. But now, as he appears to think he's nearing the end of his life, he has announced plans to convert to Christianity. Let's play that clip right now.
Whenever I talk about the simulation, and especially when I talk about my own impending death, many of my Christian friends and Christian followers say to me, Scott, you still have time. You should convert to Christianity. And I usually just let that sit because that's not an argument I want to have. I've not been a believer. But I also have respect for any Christian who goes out of their way to try to convert me. Because how would I believe you and believe your own religion if you're not trying to convert me? So I have great respect for people who care enough that they want me to convert and then go out of their way to try to convince me. So you're going to hear for the first time today that it is my plan to convert. So I still have time, but my understanding is you're never too late. And on top of that, any skepticism I have about reality would certainly be instantly answered if I wake up in heaven. I do believe that the dominant Christian theory is that I would wake up in heaven if I have a good life. Yeah, I don't necessarily have to, just state something in advance. And so, to my Christian friends, yes, it's coming. So you don't need to talk me into it. I am now convinced that the risk-reward is completely smart. If it turns out that there's nothing there, I've lost nothing. But I've respected your wishes, and I like doing that. If it turns out there is something there, and the Christian model is the closest to it, I win. So with your permission, I promise you that I will convert.
So that's been very popular on the internet. A lot of people have been weighing in about the right way to convert, the wrong way, et cetera. That's not the approach to take this. Scott is, according to everything that we know, he's got a limited glide path here on Earth. And I think it's great. I mean, there are some people who said, well, this isn't the reason why, that's not. No. My suggestion is, I think he lives out in the Bay Area in California. Anyone, any clergyman, any priest could come in and basically baptize him. And he would just have to do the standard, belief in Jesus Christ as Savior and forgiveness for his sins, and boom, he is a Christian. And he's early in that process, and I don't think don't guess, well, it ought to be this way or that way. No. And I hope that tonight he does it, or after a show today, he has coffee with Scott Adams. Maybe he's already done it. We don't know, but I think it's a very good thing, and we are praying. Scott, Joel Pollack is his our friend from Breitbart, is his biographer. I didn't know that, and so I sent Joel a text and said, look, please tell Scott everybody in Tennessee loves him, and we just wish him well. And then when the news of the conversion, I said, absolutely, just do it. Go do it. And there's more to talk about on that. There's another topic I want to get to. This is a Tennessee story. So a guy who plays the clarinet, he goes by James Zimmerman. He lives up in Knoxville. And he basically said he was trying to get the principal clarinet job with the Knoxville Symphony. And basically, here's what he said. This is Rachel for the Knoxville Symphony CEO who denied me the principal clarinet job after I won the blind audition unanimously. Rachel, why did you invite me to the audition after reviewing my resume if you had no intention of hiring me? Why have me waste my time? And then this is interesting. 3 hours after posting this about the Knoxville Symphony, Harmeet Dillon, the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, posted this. The Civil Rights Division is a little different than other parts of the Justice Department. We often rely on members of the public flagging complaints. The more succinct, the better. I appreciate James bringing this to the public's attention. Ending government DI is a big part of our work. She put that out 3 minutes ago. An hour ago, she said, Rachel, we have questions. How would you like to be Rachel Ford this morning, the CEO of the Knoxville Symphony? And the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights has some questions for you. It's going to be a long day for Rachel Ford. We're going to follow that one with great interest. All right, there you go. It's our first show of the new year, 2026. We appreciate your joining us. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. Thanks for joining us.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar-Abrego-Garcia traffic stop